because Rambo is actually a ninja.
I have no idea what's going on. Right, okay, anyway, so welcome back. So today we're going to have, I'll give you a quick rundown of the highlights. So we're going to talk about like a little bit of the kind of the fact the roadmap and everything else has kind of been out. We're going to talk about briefly because there's so much there. I don't think we can eat up that over the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about a few other bits and bobs. We'll talk about Reddit. If you've never been to the show, we go over the Reddit news. We then have the new categories now for us, which are going to be the soapbox. So everybody in the team, eventually the guest, but Mac will be sorted eventually. We'll have the soapbox section, which will basically be where somebody will bring up a topic and we will discuss the topic with chat, obviously, as well. Then after all, everyone's had their soapbox section, then we'll move into questions. We'll do questions as well as we always go along as well, if people have a relevant question. I haven't opened the questions. Miserable.
I'm doing it now.
Thank you. And you can ask questions as you go along if you're new to the show, and that's pretty much kind of how it runs here. And then we see where we end up. It's usually we're trying to push now the show to be 2 to 2.5 hours. We're not going to run over unless it's a special, which will be big events, big shows, big things to talk about. If anything crazy happens, big patches or something, if something really, really major happens, then we get people on, we might do a special, or if we get special guests. So like I'm always looking to get some guests.
I see how it is.
CIG guests. CIG guests.
Oh, nice.
Come on, Bob. Let's go to the pub.
If we get like
so we're just gonna go on time.
If we got Jay Leon or someone like that.
Is that question form right?
Or Sandy Gardner or
the
something.
right link to it?
Oh, Sandy.
I'm telling you, I am trying to get Sandy onto the show to come on with a ladies specific podcast show for the Asylum.
3.5, that's when you need to bring the ladies on.
So
Exactly.
we'll see what
When
happens.
we have this female armor, lots of ladies.
But I'm
will
trying to.
return, So
It's not going to happen, but we're trying.
That's right. Okay,
But we're promising it.
you never know.
We're trying.
Here's one.
With your help, we can make it happen. Okay, so
It's all right. Just Madness is just trying to insult every guest we've had over the last last year or so.
Right.
Don't listen to what he says.
Important
Every
guests.
guest is special, which is why in the Asylum channel you
You're all
are
my
labelled
favourites.
as special guests.
You're
You
all
are my favourites.
You're all my favorites. You're all my favorites. Especially you. No, so like we had with the whole Halloween specials, we got the guys from Jay in chat now.
Just
Jay
when things are wrong, just
Oh,
grab yourself a crack.
Everybody reach for your
And,
crocs.
and it makes everything so much better. Look at these. These are
Trick
just
question.
amazingly beautiful.
It's the end of the stream, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the Asylum Podcast. It will never be returning ever again.
I'm
Ever.
polishing mine, so I can't show them.
He's putting it on my channel as well. That's the first time and the last time. I don't.
Okay.
Just
I'm
never.
ready.
Chippy
Okay.
needs to be banned. He
Okay.
doesn't like rocks. That's a no-go.
Oh God. Yes, I hope you guys have missed
I need
us.
to do a new emote.
I hope you guys have missed us.
Crocky mode.
I haven't
New
missed
crocky
you.
mode.
I've enjoyed my Mondays off, is all I'm saying. It's been great. Absolutely loved it. No, I have actually. It's kind of funny because it's one of those ones I was like, I'm on a holiday, and then everybody else that does podcasts decided that they think that it's an okay for them to take a holiday as well. And I'm like, no, I'm on holiday. You have to keep doing your shows so I have something to watch. It's not fair that they took the holiday off as well. You know who I'm talking about, Paul. Captain's Table, Mr. I'm not been doing it for ages. Get it sorted. So big news actually over the Christmas period for the Asylum. We have signed up to do the race, the Daymar race. Woo!
Oh.
So we have the official race team. Bok has already bailed. He's left the team already. He's decided that.
That's not my fault. I've been practicing
He's
for
been
the
practicing.
last week, but I didn't know you signed us up for it. And I'm leaving, well, in less than 2 weeks. I'm in Austria if I can reach that country.
Well,
If you're allowed in.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the vehicle of choice then?
well, I need if anyone has a spare Cyclone racer available to lend me.
We've entered a race where we don't have enough people and we don't actually have the vehicle to race.
You can spawn these thing endlessly, so that wouldn't be a problem.
Send your
That's
Cyclone
what I was thinking. But yes, if someone would kindly donate a racing version of the Cyclone, feel free. Not a problem. We have a space now available on the team for somebody.
Who's the driver?
To make
Subscriber.
It as well.
Oh,
I
so the
give you one
driver.
tip.
Okay, good
Don't
question.
do airtime in the cyclone. It will always end up badly.
Okay,
You can watch my VODs.
that is a good advice.
I mean, the
we
last
did it
time
the
I
other
was
day.
in the cyclone and I just kept crashing it. So
Yeah.
There's a complete shocker. Isn't it? That sentence can be replaced with anything. Just take the cyclone out, put anything else in there.
it's just. So the plan is quite simple. Is I was planning on just kind of flying above and kind of chatting, and then I was going to we were going to have Jester. He's part of the Asylum team. He was going to be the driver because he's really good. So I'm trying to get him to do it if he's available. The problem is he might not be available for the time frame, but we're going to try and get Jester to drive. Miz is going to be co-pilot because I think he'd just offer just the best
He
advice.
can
I mean,
read the
me and him bickering, I think, about directions would be hilarious on stream as I'm telling him to go left. And Miz is like, no.
We've been here before. The other fucking left.
I know that tree.
And if anyone gets near us, I fully intend to blow them out of the sky, basically, well, out of the ground even, and the sky. That's the plan. So I'm planning on flying above and offering tactical murderage of anyone else that gets near us. If I see anyone, I will murder them. I think that's in the rules. I haven't read the rules yet, but I think that somewhere it says Madness is allowed to kill everybody that gets near him. Other than his own team. That won't happen, I promise, even though I could get bored and tempted. I won't shoot my own team. So yeah, that's the plan. I think should be good. I hope so anyway. Fingers crossed. We'll win. And I don't know what the prize is.
Watch you guys when I'm on holiday.
What day is it in July?
Okay, so the date is
January.
I have the date here. No, I don't have the date here. I do have the date here. It is.
You argue with yourself.
I was like, I do have the date here. It's on the DaymarRally.com, which is going to load up eventually. It's the 27th of the 1st, so 13 days. So.
Oh shit! Of course, it's not happened yet.
Yeah, it's 13 days. The race will begin in 13 days, 29:49 in the future. So we're only like 900 years before the race actually starts. But
That's probably, to be fair, that's probably about as much time as I need to practice. So.
Even then.
But no, it's a 300 kilometers, 3 outposts, 1 million. Actually, hang on, let me see if I've got the videos without.
How long does the race actually take?
There we go.
It depends on who gets there first.
That was the practice. That was the guys practicing the other day in the. They're obviously getting together and doing their practice runs. Being a true athlete myself within the racing circuit world, I don't feel the need to do any sort of practice. So I think we could handle it. We'll know. There's just God-given talent, really. It's exactly. You just put your finger up and which way do we go? Yeah, that's where we go. So we'll find.
And what practice does a co-pilot need? I mean, really.
Exactly. Just bust open the drinks is what I say on the way.
Straight ahead. I mean, this is just like straight ahead anyway. Oh, there's a rock coming, by the way. Yeah, you might want to avoid that one.
So yeah. So if you haven't signed up for it, it's too late. Unlucky. Maybe next time. I'm sure if it goes well, they'll probably do another one. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a laugh. I think from what I understand there should be lots of different people doing it. I think there'll be lots of streams going live. I wouldn't be surprised there'll be a Daymar official stream, and there'll probably be loads of people who streaming will be doing it. I will be fascinated to see how it goes. So anyway, we've got a team. We're going to be doing that in the next couple of weeks. So watch this space. It should be fun. I'll ping out some more information as and when that happens. So that should be good.
Cool.
5 to 7 hours and yeah, exactly.
Hey, Paul.
It's just that sounds horrendous. I'm sure there's going to be lots of flipping and having to get new vehicles and doing it, because we still haven't got repair mechanics in game yet, which I think they were hoping that we would have repair mechanics by now because it was on the roadmap. So the fact that they're having to do this race now without any ability to flip over the vehicles. Thank you, CIG. Well done. The most simplest. Surely that's an easy piece of coding.
We could
to put
technically lose straight away.
Good.
Yeah, literally. Just the minute you
first bump.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
There will have to
put
be
me and
so many
miserable in
ships.
one car. Yeah.
Well, this is it. I'm thinking I'm going to have to.
Fire
So
going on the dashboard.
Actually, we might need to borrow a Valkyrie because the Valkyrie can fit 3 cyclones in it, I believe, or 2 cyclones, 3 cyclones. So if anyone has a spare Valkyrie, let me know.
Scenario wants a Valkyrie and a race car that we don't actually own.
And 3 race cars that we don't own. It's fine. We'll be fine. We've got this.
We'll turn up on the day and it'll just be us standing there going, right, have you got the car then? No. Have you got the car? All right. This is good. Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Let's start walking.
Let's just start walking. Just a piggyback. Just jump on my back. We've got this. To be fair, you might be like the turtle because you watch all these cars just exploding and crashing into rocks, and then you just like run past them like that, going, "Yeah, baby,
let's go by camel."
So that's the Daymar rally, and then everything else this year is just going to be crazy, usual kind of Asylum stuff. I think I've been chatting with some of the guys who are the combat guys. So when the flight model comes in, we're going to do a big thing about the flight model stuff, which should be really good.
I'll take that day off.
Yeah. For people that are interested, obviously, but for the guys, obviously, that are combat based, we're gonna kind of break it down. I'm gonna do YouTube stuff on that, so that should be good. Watch this space, that'll be fun. And yeah, there's a whole lot of other things that will be coming up as well. Obviously, we do our D&D as well that we do throughout the year. When Miz is free and able to do it. If anyone that hasn't noticed, as Miz will do it now whilst Miz is here, Miserable has been super busy. I don't think he's had much of a Christmas. And you might have seen out recently the tweets from JR Fabrications. And let me just grab the stuff. So Miz has been doing...
We've got a link somewhere.
Yeah, I got a couple of links, so I will pull it out a little bit here.
As he is demonstrating on his microphone.
Yes. Yes. So we have belated Merry Christmas. This went up. So this is from the JR. So if you don't know who these people are, these are the guys who make sets and kind of like they've been making models and full scale models and stuff for CitizenCon. They made the Dragonfly. They made the Raven from previous Gamescom. They do all the BritainCon, the desk panels. They did the first thing I think that I remember seeing was at BritainCon when I went in 2017, which I think was like a yellow walking? What was it? I can't remember what it was now.
It was the locker, wasn't it?
It was a locker.
Yeah,
that was it.
That was it.
From Bottler.
Yeah, which I think got the attention of the CRG team, and then it was like things have just flown from there. And they did the Kraken. They did the Kraken, the big, huge model of the Kraken, and then Miserable worked on painting all of the smaller stuff. So the Cutlass Black, the Grey Cats, the little mini Grey Cats, which everyone fell in love with, as they fell in love with the real mod, the digital one. And he did also the Dragonflies and the figures and all the rest of it. And then so they belated Merry Christmas. So you tell us. I'll just scroll through. You tell us what this is all about then. So you'll probably see it on the screen.
So basically, JRDF decided to do some Christmas presents for a few of the devs at CIG that they've been involved with, who have helped them with obviously to get all these models done and everything. They need to have the assets from the game, and then their team, JRDF's team, work on it and clean all the models up and everything else to 3D print them. On top of that, there's like legal and everything else. So, been involved with a lot of people in CIG. So basically, they just wanted to give them all a little Christmas present to say thank you for all their help and everything else. Basically, they chose to do the Grey Cat model, which you can see coming up on the screen. This is the first time. So the other models we had done on top of the Kraken were mostly, no, they were in bits as well, but they were sort of sold as or made as like as a whole model, whereas this one was the Grey Cat was made. They spent a bit more time looking at cutting it up and breaking it into little bits so that it can come as like a kit form. So you have like the actual body, the windscreen, the tires. These two little people here you can see sitting on a microphone, and the seats.
What are their names?
That one's Frank and Jimmy.
Oh, I thought the two from the Muppet Show. The elderly guys.
Yeah, Ernie. Hey, Bert. Yes. So basically, they JR cut all the model up and 3D printed all the parts. They sent them down to me, and then I just churned through them like a factory line of just trying to paint them all to make them all slightly different, because the grey cats are, well, they do a couple of different coloured variants, but to try and make it a little bit easier, we kept the grey cats white, and instead I made all the pilots slightly different coloured outfits. So I think there's about 8 different variations. So basically this was going to different studios. We had some going to the UK office, some to the LA, some to the Texas, and some to the Frankfurt office.
I'd be like, no, mate, you ain't getting any.
Yeah, you ain't getting.
I think we can understand why Miserable clearly crashes all the time, because look at the clarity of his cockpits, of the glass on the screen of these things. I mean, there's more. That's as accurately scratched as the real ones. I'm telling you, honestly, it makes. I was so impressed with your attention to detail then.
Highly buffed. They were actually clear when I got them, and I thought, no. They've got to be true to. They got to be true to the game, so I just buffed them up a little bit.
Scratch the shit out of it.
I like the bit of
detail
grass
is amazing.
Yeah. All the details now. Little tufts of grass.
I think
so I
for
finished
effect.
gluing and painting all the models together, and then Moist Noodle basically made the stand that it sits upon, and then they brought some turf and, well, not actual turf, but like modelers, gravel and stuff, and they tried out a few different textures and what they wanted the best, and they settled for that one. And you can buy these little tufts of grass and stuff, so they got that and stuck it on there. So
it's got to nick some grass from outside.
You got to keep you could have put. That's what you should have done. A little bonsai on each one.
A little bonsai.
Tree. They could have kept it alive.
Make sure you water it and you clip the
little mini bonsai just growing over the top of the grey cat. We'll do that for next time, cows. And as you can see, I didn't actually see these certificates, but they've had a certificate of authenticity signed by
Mickey Mouse.
Ben. And there's 18 of them, so that was number 14 of 18 and display there. But yeah, so that took a little while, and I am also working on some other stuff which I can't talk about. So.
Sure you can.
Yeah, cows, close your eyes and ears.
Well, if that's the smallest things you're working on, and you've been working on figures, then we can only assume it probably goes back up the scale. It would be my guess, guys. That would be my wildest guess. It's got to go back upwards in size.
Crispy, who he casted the plimps after Noodle designed them. Okay, cool. So yeah, they're actually done by cast, and he loves polishing stuff. Crispy, he makes it so it's all smooth. It's amazing when you see like FDM prints and things like that, and how many lines you can see on them. He did the plimps for the Parryverse as well. If anyone saw the models that JRDF gave out on there. With the little 600i on it, he polished those, and they were so smooth. It's like one of those really smooth pebbles. It's just amazing. You just sit there for hours, probably just polishing these things.
I love how the names of it. It's like, oh yeah, it was Crispy, Miz, Cowls, Noodle, JR that did all the painting and the creating, but Ben signed.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
Ben's probably the normal one out of the lot.
Ben's from CIG.
I miss Ben.
So, are you open to critical compliments?
Critical compliments? What?
What? Constructive criticism is that supposed to mean?
That was what I meant to say.
Critical compliments. From now on, though, we're going to use it. Yeah. That was nice.
The wheels. You need to 3D print rubber wheels, or kind of more texturally kind of like wheels. That would be
funny you should say that.
Because they look they look like they're plastic rather than, and I would say that would be my thing, would be just to kind of dial it up a bit, would be the wheels could be like a softer.
Do they spin? Do they spin?
Ooh.
No.
Does the doors...
Yeah, the Ninja Flex, but does it come in resin, Starburger?
It does. Well, there is. They've already. So I've got a couple of spare grey cat buggies in kit form, which I need to put together on paint, which I'll probably do at some point when I get some time on stream. And I can stream showing you me putting it together and painting it, so you can all see it. Okay. But I believe so. Cal's is in discussion, I think, on their channel at the moment about potentially selling a kit form of the grey cat. And they're also working on like a slightly updated model of it, and this should include rubber tires.
So by kit form, you mean we can buy them and make them?
Yeah, so instead of me painting them, you can buy them in little, basically like this. So exactly how you just saw on there, you got all the different individual wheels, but the wheels would be rubber.
Yeah, like an Airfix sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Finally.
Sweet. So what you guys can do is you can send your pictures with when you've done it, and done it even better than miserable. Send them to us. Send them through to me, and we can do who competition. Who's better? Who's worse?
It's funny because
I will have a go. I'm gonna have a go.
They're fully into models at the moment. I was just looking at the press kit that they are working on right now, and what they're going to do is not only they will give you backgrounds, wallpapers, that's kind of things, but also 3D printer files, the STL files for a lot of models. Like the Grey Cat and the Hornet, and etc. etc. etc.
Very cool. I've seen
who's making those?
I've seen a few of the 3D models though.
It's coming from a holo viewer, but it's not live yet.
I've seen some
I don't
models.
think the Grey Cat kit form is 100% confirmed yet. Cal's may be able to answer that, but it all has to go through CIG and whether they actually agree to them doing it and things like that. So
right, I'll cancel that order then.
Well, I'm going to tell CIG, come on, it's about time we got at least another thing, like a cool little model. Like, come on, like, seriously.
I mean, yeah, Airfix would be ideal for... Although, ironically... It's like the Airfix style I was thinking for spaceships, and the first vehicle you're going to use is a ground vehicle. But saying that Airfix do ground vehicles. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously loads of vehicles that we could go from. I mean, my personal favourite would be the Dragonfly. But in some ways, it's kind of a bit like how we are with the, like in game where we say you wait for your model. I feel like a little bit like this. Let's let the other things be done first, and then when we're really good at it, then we can say, oh, look at this. This is the one you want. So...
Yeah, I think it's good because you've got, like you said, you've got that starting vehicle. You can kind of grow and learn and get better and stuff. You do need to make your glass clear. I think you can't really have a smeared glass like that forever. Eventually, you will have to do like a beautiful clear glass, right? Am I wrong in that? I'm guessing
just don't put anything in and say it's perfectly clear.
No, eventually, eventually you have to do that as well. That's my only two things: is the glass and the wheels. I think those two things.
You make it wind up as well,
and it'd be superb. I think it'd be superb.
Fuck.
Little cork seats.
Eject.
Send you a polishing cloth. Oh no! Look, hey, I'm gonna because I'm being like constructively critical. I'm gonna have a go. I'm gonna do it. I will attempt to paint it, and you can all rip the shit out of my attempt because I put my money where my mouth is. I will do it. I will have a go at a model, and I will try and do it, and you can laugh your ass off at how terrible my model is. So
we will all complimentary complain.
Complimentary be critical.
Oh, whatever. Was it complimentary criticism? It's complimentary, don't worry about it.
I think they're awesome, and I can't wait to see the next stuff that you guys do. As always, I think you kind of you keep taking it to the next. Like, this is where it's naturally progression, and it's fantastic to be part of seeing that growth. And I think we're all really privileged to be able. Like, again, it's weird. It's like Star Citizen is open development, and we get to see that, and then there's this other company doing its thing, and we get to see that as well, kind of grow with it. I mean, this is freaking cool shit, guys. Really cool stuff.
I've put a picture in Discord if you want to have a look at it, which is the new prototype with the rubber wheel.
Oh, hang on.
Or at least the flexi filament, which looks really cool. But if anybody does need their grey cat buggy painted, I'm probably not available.
Just in general.
I was going to say, don't sign yourself up for that.
Sorry,
but yeah, so it's all got to go through. It's on Media to Go Live in the Asylum channel. There's a few pictures.
Okay,
there.
yeah. Media to Go Live.
Yeah, so it's got to go through legal and licensing and everything else. So it's kind of watch this space. Keep an eye on JRDF's website and things like that for updates. And also there is talk of something for British.com, but there's nothing to confirm just yet. But they're limited models to 25 of them, I think.
Unless we steal them, then there's 21.
What is that kind of English, SuperMac? Stop fucking lurking.
Fucking.
How many did you have to make again? And in what was the time frame? This is what people don't realize is like the time frame was like from the moment that you were told that you had to do this to the moment that you had to finish them and get them out. How much time did you have to do it?
Well, that's difficult because I was told that I needed to do that, I think, and then I had nothing to do for a while until they were sent to me. I think so. I had the pilots first, and I probably spent, I can't remember, like a week or so on those. And then I had 18. Well, I got sent 20 grey cats, and I needed to do 18, and I think I did those in a weekend. So
It looks
I think
a lot better.
it was a little bit, a little bit rushed. But like everything, I had to do it by Christmas, so we had to kind of get what we could do done. I think it worked out on average about 5 hours per model.
Oh, wow.
Which is actually pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wow. That's really fast.
Yeah. But no, it's because I had to paint. Obviously, I've done a lot of hobby painting and stuff for myself, which hasn't needed to be done under time constraints and things. It's a little bit different to doing something like this and trying to paint to order and paint them for a certain speed. So for this when I got all the grey cats and everything in a kit form, I then did it like a conveyor belt basically. So you do all the tires, all the base of them, all the undercarriages and everything else, because like even that's like separate, the little chrome metal bars underneath and everything.
Wow, nice.
So yeah, still learning curve on my part. I'm playing with new toys to make things a little bit quicker. I've got an airbrush and I've now got a Dremel, which helps smooth the bumps out a little bit as well. So yeah, I'm still learning myself.
Well, like I said to people before, as I first kind of started watching Miserable's other show that he does, which is called Paint, Prattle and Roll, where he sits with Des and he basically paints for about 4 hours, it seems, and then re-dips it, and then paints for another 4 hours the next day, then dips it again. When I say dips it, he means he just dips it in kind of like some sort of solvent and goes, yeah, I'm not happy with it, do it again. Yeah, I'm not happy with it, do it again. So he's literally painting one figure for about a month. So he's like, whereas now, how many figures did you have to paint?
For this, 18 grey cats.
No, figures.
It was
Actual
18
figures.
36 then.
Well, it was 18 figures because there was one driver in each one.
Yeah.
20, 30, odd, 40, almost 40 seats.
40 seats in, and you had to do all of that in what was
80 tires.
In like
in a weekend.
In a weekend. Yeah, exactly. What I'm gonna say, yeah, exactly. So I mean, your skills are just gonna like go so high so quickly. The more you do it, it's awesome.
Skills.
They will. It's like anything that like the more you have to do it, you're just gonna get faster and better all the time. The wheels look much better, by the way.
Yeah, they do look
much
better. I mean, obviously there's a balance between speed and quality. And obviously I can do quality at a slow speed, so it's trying to get that quality at a quicker speed.
And less dipping.
Less dipping.
Less dipping.
To be honest, on the Kraken, the big gun at the front, I repainted that about 6 or 7 times because I wasn't happy with the color matching. So yeah, I do it sometimes. I try not to.
Some of the details that miss. Look, is that an M for miserable on the dashboard?
You sneaky bastard. Is that your subtle signature?
I'm supposed to tell people that. I may have branded a few of the dashboards with a little mini M, but I didn't actually tell anybody.
Busted. So only a couple. So if you're lucky enough, anyone at CIG, to have the Miserables mark on there, let us know if you were the lucky one.
Scratch it off with a Dremel.
It was only that big. You can barely see it anyway.
He sent that to one of the CIDs that's called Matthew. That's what he said. It's actually meant to be for Matthew.
Yeah.
But I love look at the details. Look on the wheels on the little kind of. That's really cool, dude. I love the light. Yeah.
Suspension's cool.
Yeah.
What about doing like a golden models? Maybe in one. It may be what you should do. This is a good idea. When you start doing all of the packs that you sell as like hopefully not too exclusive, but like start selling them as general merchandise. Have one pack that's all gold. Oh, they're saying that you're painting yourself, don't you? Never mind.
Yes, you do paint it, and
whole
that's
thing.
that's kind of you'll be your kit, but you'll get little rubber tires to go with it. Sorry, I should make it a bit bigger for everyone to see it a bit better.
How many pieces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, maybe 11 with the driver.
How many pieces? That there is all the pieces.
12 pieces. Those circles aren't anything, are they?
Oh, so
Yeah,
look at the glass.
Oh,
is
no, not the
already
black circles, no.
Yeah,
slacking.
yeah, 13 with the driver.
Yeah.
Frosted. Beautiful.
Cool. Airfix to get
Very,
spares.
very cool, Miz. Like, I can't wait to see the next load of stuff, dude. That's super
Yeah,
good.
I can't wait as well.
When it's all done and you can relax and do something else.
Have a vacation beforehand.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of stress at the current one because of color matching and things like that. But anyway, I can't talk about it sadly. But you should know soon enough.
Exciting. Very, very exciting. That is super cool. Right. So who's been playing Star Citizen over the Christmas? Who played over Star Citizen over the Christmas holiday? Have you been playing? I've been watching quite a few of the streamers. There's been a big influx of a few new streamers. Rexzilla guy has been kicking ass with huge PvP battles and just high intensity, really showing off kind of like the potential for big combat and kind of PvP gameplay, which is pretty sweet to see. It's been, from what I've seen, like easily the best period of time for Star Citizen on Twitch for a long time. And real positivity going into 2019 for this year. That was 2018 though. It's done. They finished strong. Like anything, like anyone else, we're now on to 2019. So they did well. Congratulations. Good job. You finished well. Now it's 2019. We're moving on to the next patch. How has everyone found? Have you guys been trying 3.4 because they had a major issue with the gun glitch, right? As far as I can tell, which came along out of the blue.
Yeah.
Funny pictures from that. Yeah.
Tonk. Ursa Tonk.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was it Binary Loop?
Binary Loop. Yeah.
Kind of like him and I think him, HC Vertigo, Make 'em Rage, kind of like there was somebody else I think who did something and then somebody else exploited. They didn't exploit it because people saying exploit it. They took something, they played with it, and they found, oh, this shit's really broken. You can do all sorts of stuff with this shit. So they were making some wacky creations. I don't think I've got any pictures of it actually, but they did some crazy cool stuff. Let's see if I've got anything else.
The Aurora with what size 7 guns on, or
so this was a fight. This was HC trying to kill me with his tuned up Gladius with about a gazillion.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah,
gazillion guns trying to kill me with it. It's just hilarious. Like you could just like it was crazy, absolutely crazy.
But
stuff.
it still comes down to aiming.
Yeah, he still couldn't kill me. Still couldn't kill me.
longer than it should.
Look at Madness's skills there. He's like a legend.
You
dodging
can
all
have
of it.
all the guns in the world, my friend, but if you can't aim,
You can't aim it.
I don't know. If you get a big enough gun with a big enough bullet, it's so when we do archery, it's the same thing. For indoors, they actually have really thick arrows because it cuts because it's close. It will cut the line because it counts as what your score is wherever the highest bit it lands in. So the bigger the arrow, you can get this big chunky arrow so that it cuts the lines more frequently, so you actually get the highest score. A big enough gun.
But it's the same with the freelancer. I took the freelancer out and did one of those missions with the underground bases. So I came down there and I wanted to shoot the turrets that were outside. And those guns are so wide on both sides of the hull that I can't hit those turrets because they were just missing. Hitting to the side.
Out the side of them.
Yeah.
Nice.
You imagine just flying a small ship in between, saying, hey, "You can't get me because it's the start."
Yeah, you just got real close to them.
That's what they did in the films, isn't it? When the German plane would come in and you see the guy running along the track, and then the bullets would just go right next to him. You'd be like, "Well, that's a bad design, isn't it? Right there."
Yeah,
it just completely misses the target.
Usually they are crossed, and you have to take into account a certain distance.
Yeah.
But with the freelancer, because it's so wide and it's just on the side, it's just straightforward, and you have to sacrifice one of your guns.
So I have to say, talking about the freelancer book, my comments about the freelancer max and the guns that it has been true. It's come true. The fact of the matter is, if anyone that's a dogfighter, they're doing the subscription this month to give you all the freelance variants. I subscribed so that I get the Omni Skies off of the freelancer max. And I can tell you for a fact that I've watched many streamers from other people who are combat orientated and heard from other channels, that's what everyone's doing. Like, if you can get a freelancer max, you get a freelancer max because you can claim the weapons. So a lot of people, that's kind of become a thing. It's like before it was the 300, now it's the freelancer max. In one go, you get access to 4 Omni Skies, which is, if you run the Saber, that's what you want.
So are those guns on the freelancers now, do we know if they are the final guns loadout?
No,
everything could change, I think.
They'll probably change stuff, like Box says. They'll definitely.
So
I think
nothing's fine. At least until we're in beta-ish. Probably even then they'll probably balance it, won't they?
Yeah, it'll change.
We'll have tiers of guns as well, Max. So you're not going to just that's tier 1s. There'll be like a tier 3 Omni Sky, which will cost probably like 60 grand.
Sky. Isn't it Omniski?
Omniski. Everyone calls it Omni Sky. Okay, so it's just that's the way. It's not correct. Like Santa Koya, I don't say it right. Tough shit. It's my show with Miz. Unless Miz can say it correct and I'll say it wrong. That's the way it is.
Omni skis with me in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Going down that mountain on my Omni skis.
Oh man, I'm so jealous. Actually, I will be hitting it up.
And I'll be flying in the Omni Skies.
Omni Skies
right above me.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the actual
surrounded by intellectuals. Surrounded by intellectuals. I love the fact that it's Mac of all the people to be trying to correct me on my my inability to say something.
Let's see where this is coming from, and let's evaluate that.
It's Mac. It's Mac. So yeah, so I was quite like it was. It's true. It's going to be interesting to see if the Bounty Defender, which is the other thing that I was talking about, is going to become true as well. I'm fascinated to see because I had two kind of I was like saying the Freelancer Max with the Omni Skis, with the Omni Skis skies, whatever.
With the Omnis. Just call them Omnis.
That was kind of a thing that I kind of anticipated, and that's come true. And the other one will be the Bounty Defender. I'm super hyped for, and because of the fuel capacity, because I had a glaive and my glaive has been burning out of fuel like crazy, and it's really kind of shined me onto the idea that I need a long distance fighter.
The Banner's going to be interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
Whether it actually flies decently, because half the alien stuff just doesn't actually fly that decently. How are you getting on with your glaive?
Pretty good. Glaive? Loving it, actually. It's super cool. I mean, what's great about the glaive is because I didn't have access to the Freelancer Max, I was spawning the glaive because it's so cheap, gives me 2 size 5s, and I can go in and wreck people and be competitive against sabers with Omni Skies. He's such a bunch of assholes. It's with the Omni Skies.
It's got to be a thing.
I'm interested to see how those Vandal ships do fly in atmosphere in 3.5, because didn't they say that the asymmetrical ships are just going to be hell?
We have a big section on the flight model stuff, but we'll touch on what you said. Yes, I would imagine.
We can come to it later if you like.
We got a big. Yeah, well, we can talk about that later.
I mean, it's your show, you know.
Yeah, no, we got a big chunk. I don't want to touch on the flight model too much.
He's not even a special guest. So.
It's not that special guest.
It's not on the alien ship, I think. Excuse me.
No, there are like other ships, yeah.
Yeah, just the Aurora. It's just a flying brick. And
the Reliant.
And the Reliant, yeah.
They said it flies awful, the Reliant, didn't they? In the new one.
They said that because they need to do something about it. Otherwise, it's just, this is how it's supposed to be. And you're like, no.
So Sandy tweeted out because we were talking about the Banu because I was getting super hyped. So he's got like it's called magnetic pattern and stuff. So it was really cool to see Josh like he actually does the patterns and draws it up himself and stuff, which was fucking cool. So I was like, yeah.
What's that for?
This is the Banu.
Banu Defender.
He's doing
Josh on the actual Banu, is it?
I think this
Like
must be
space.
some sort of pattern that's either to do with the metal or something to do with the design. Something. This must be like that. Looks like a textural map to me that goes onto the ship. So for me, I look at that and I go, that looks like textural map that will be placed on top of things and will become. And that also could be looks like it's black and white, which means that it could be either a bump map or highs and lows for like details and stuff. Or it could be a spectral map as well. So the metallic that could be a spectral. So it could be
Probably
shiny
the
and not shiny.
scratches in the glass.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a bum back in the glass.
It could be. It could be.
Independent. We can't see anything.
Can't see shit. in this weird alien language.
They have no eyes. They do not need to see anything. They can see through glass, scratched glass. So that was really cool to see that Josh was, because like Josh is cool. So I was like really chuffed that he's working on my ship.
It looks baller.
I mean, I love the Cutlass Black, and he worked on the Cutlass Black, and the Cutlass Black is sick. He worked on the Herald, which is sick. He worked on the Phoenix, which I got in the other day, and like just flying about. I don't like the Connies, but the interior of that is pretty cool. And he's working on my Banu, so I'm just like hyped for that. So yeah, that's kind of like my predictions. So I'm interested. I don't want to do too many predictions, but that was kind of my one. So I'm hoping the Banu is as good as they say with those two.
So all of you that bought a Banu Defender on Madness's say so.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
getting close to crunch time.
If you bought, yeah. No, I want no emails, please. If it's shit, please. No abuse.
All the hate mails.
All the hate mails, come send them my way. So on another little bit of news, I don't know if you guys have been watching the SpaceX. So this is off for Star Citizen, but it's all related. So this is the SpaceX thing. So did you guys see the Elon Musk spaceship?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, check it out.
So
So this is
shiny.
somebody else's Elon Musk's SpaceX assembly. So this was the original picture on the right hand side, and like it's kind of assembled, but this is on the right hand side. So it's like we've got a retro Tintin vibe about it. Like
Yeah, I say the Germans are back.
Did you ever watch on Netflix that?
It's a V1, V2. Well,
Close.
I love this. I absolutely love this because the spacesuit he did kind of had like a 60s hark back to the idea of the 60s vision of space and stuff. And then I love the fact that he's doing this. It just looks fucking cool. I don't know what it is.
I don't think the American flag's big enough.
It looks like something out of Fallout.
Yes, a little bit, but that's not a bad
looks
thing.
like
Fallout's-
a bullet.
Have you seen Mars on Netflix? Which
Yeah.
is very much about Elon Musk and.
Mhm.
Didn't they have something similar to that? It was like sort of dramatized, wasn't it? Where it failed, or wasn't it a similar shape?
I think.
I can't remember now.
No,
Possibly.
I don't think so.
Like Elon's like, I just want to make a spaceship. There you go.
Yeah, but he's like,
When you
you know,
ask a kid, draw a spaceship. Like you say, draw a tree to a child, and you go, draw a spaceship.
spaceship.
I can't. I don't know the name of that comic book from a French the comic writer.
Tintin.
Is it called Tintin? Yeah, we call it Kuifje. The guy with the
Quiff. Yeah.
Tintin.
And there's a little dog.
yeah. Okay,
Snowy,
Tintin. Yeah. He got almost the same rocket. It was
red.
only checkered,
He's
red and
nice.
white.
Yeah, it's really nice. A lot of people were like saying in the Twitter afterwards, saying you should do it this colorway, and I was like, you should do it this colorway. It would be awesome to see Tintin's spaceship just literally go into like that. Would just be awesome. It's just so funny to be like, what's
So
happened? But like, it just got me thinking about Star Citizen in terms of like we seeing the ships develop and progress, but there's no real kind of history because like it got me thinking about. There is like if anyone's watched the Enterprise, the Star Trek Enterprise, at the beginning of Star Trek Enterprise, they did like an introduction, they kind of a cool music video and stuff, and he showed all the different kind of spaceships going in towards the point of when we take off and for spaceships and all the rest of it. And I was thinking that it would be pretty sick in Star Citizen as we're kind of seeing a lot of the ships evolve and change and continue to progress. I would love to see some of the at some point in lore, I'm sure they've got the writings to see some of the older spaceships, the first spaceships, because it's been 1,000 years. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
To see some
That's
of
why
those
it would
more.
be so cool to also have or purchase the previous ships, like the Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, different kind of versions. Think of the Super Hornet and the Hornet variants.
It's kind of what they said they want to do, kind of going forward. So you would have this is more, I think, they said when the game's released, perhaps. So like you'd have the Aurora, and then a new version of an Aurora would come out, and then you'd see people flying some and going, oh, they're like using the retro ship. But I feel like, kind of like Manda says, though, I feel like in some ways they need to make. It'd be nice to kind of back not now, because we've got plenty of stuff that I need to work on, but in the future, like even do some older ones that, even though they're not retro, make them retro and say this is actually the original Aurora, like the one that we've been sold now and that's on sale now. Even if they do improved version, that's still not the original one. It'd be cool to see, this was man's first Aurora or something, and see it like much more retro, maybe with like a big bubbled like cockpit or something like that.
I would make them NPC ships. Like, make them NPC spaceships and stuff. So we don't necessarily, we can't buy that, but they're in there as NPCs and AI ships flying around to bulk out the verse and to kind of give it that kind of sense of history of 1,000 years of space travel. We'd get these wonderful, rather than just constantly saying, oh, look, there's another Aurora, there's a Cutlass. Obviously, they're going to see those because they're the new spaceships, but there needs to be, in my head, more of an aged process of the spaceships to give it again to really bulk out that feeling of true immersion within the universe. Is my thought. That's all.
Do you think because the Hornets have gone, like the old Hornets now to the, I don't mean like the old unredone Hornets, I mean the Hornet and then the F7A Hornet. I think over the space of, what was it, like 2 years, like in real life, they look kind of as futuristic as you would expect for 2 years, but then maybe 30 years down the line, well, saying that, in game time, would it be so much more drastic? Or would it be subtle? Just subtle from the last one, but then when you compare them...
Depends if it's Porsche or not, isn't it? If it's the Porsche spaceship, then it would be exactly the same for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
Whereas it it'll
depends
have
on the
cues.
Changes and then...
subtleties.
But I mean,
they do think like that when they design stuff. I think John said that they do take certain key elements, like the anvil's got like the circle type thing is kind of key to the kind of styling, and then a little bit of the angular stuff. They've kind of got their design language for each of the companies. But I'd love to see more, like I say, just for fun. Like I said, like behind, backwards. I'm hoping Star Citizen Squadron 42 will do that. In my head, that's what I was hoping that they'll have, because that's set before even what we're playing now, right? In terms of the persistent universe. So we should see
it's 2942, isn't it?
So we might see.
I think.
Well, that's not that old, I suppose, but.
Well, no, but it's still, like you say, it's still a good sort of 5 years. You look at cars and how they've evolved over maybe 5 years themselves. They do change, not drastically, but enough to be noticeable.
Yeah. So that just got me thinking.
We've seen, like, they've done the event with, like, the last one that was the expo thing where you go to the arena and have a look at the ships on sale. Like, it would be, I hope that that's sort of the thing we're going to see when the game's released, kind of events like that, because they could easily do like a classic car show where it's classic cars, like classic ships. Yeah. And so even like you said, even if you can't fly them, you could like at least go and see them and see, go and see the very first model that was out and things like that, and just go and see what would be so.
What about skins? Like, you could get the skin. Like, they could, in theory, like they do that nowadays. Like, you could kind of like, people take old cars and put new mod kits to try and make it look like old cars or vice versa. It's like, it would be kind of cool if you could take the skin of like an old retro looking spaceship and kind of apply it to more of a newer frame or something. Like, you could go to like a cool dude. Kid. Yeah, or you could go to a customized dude, like a kind of. Yeah, whatever, like, you could go to like a dude in space.
Work with Item 2.0.
Tweak it up.
Some models, they change quite heavily with the interior and such. So probably for the models that can't be flown by ourselves as a player, they can only stick to NPCs, because that can be an empty shell basically, and only look good from the outside.
I hope so. That's what I'd like them to do. I'd like them to do
that.
Well,
I planned that. Do it. Sorry,
go for it, mate.
That Aurora LX, which is like your collector's version of the Aurora, so it's like the luxury one. I plan to to get that and just not touch it for the whole duration of Star Citizen and just put it under one of those tech cloths. So it flaps around in my hangar, and then 20 years time after we've been playing it for 20 years, I'll be like, what the fuck's under here anyway? Oh, my Aurora, yeah, and I just bring that out. Oh my god, get some hydraulics.
It does that already.
Yeah. It does that.
Yeah. I remember when they first implemented the Reliant. I don't know if it was Eva Carty, and I spawned it in the hangar. And as I just approached it, it just literally flipped out and started spinning all around the hangar.
The freelancers started doing that. When you open the door on the freelancer, it just goes, and then it suddenly settles out, and you think, yeah, I'll get another ship, thanks.
Yeah.
And that was...
Yeah. No, that's kind of the random stuff. There's a few other things, like I say, but we'll leave the roadmap stuff, I think, to another week because I don't want to kind of.
And if anyone's got any questions, question in chat, or I think question mark does it as well. Chuck a few questions at us, and we'll do our best to answer them.
And thank you, Captain Zaps, for the awesome raid, buddy.
Captain Zaps. Thank you, dude.
Zaps.
Appreciate that.
I don't think that exclamation question on that worked.
No,
Exclamation
it doesn't.
question.
It must be exclamation. Yeah.
No?
Why doesn't it work?
We'll get there. Don't worry. And then so we move on to Reddit. So here's a question. So if we have underwater eventually in the game, do you think we'll have underwater drones?
As in for exploration, or on their own, just going off and... I would think it...
For a bit of both, really. A bit of both, I guess, would be the best way to describe it.
Well, I would expect in terms, especially in salvage, we know the Reclaimer has drones for space, and I would expect it will be a similar thing where you can maybe land on water and then send a drone underneath to search, and then you'll have to go in and dive, and instead of just sending an EVA crew, you'd have divers. They don't call it EVA in the water, do they? That is purely a space thing.
I don't know. It kind of made sense to me.
It is extravehicular, isn't it?
Well, you're going to go...
Swimming will become a thing later on, right?
Yeah, definitely at some point. And then I wonder, salvage will become a thing, and I wonder if they'll have to have... Do you think they'll make it so the vehicle that can... like a small vehicle that can salvage up in space will be able to potentially go into the water as well? Or do you think CIG will try and make it so that it's a particular underwater vehicle?
I think it'll be different because the pressures aren't the same. It may be a similar idea of, when it's underwater, it's airtight. Out in space, it's airtight. But it's the pressures are different. And I don't think you can chuck a submarine into space and just assume it'll do the same thing. And Elon's spaceship probably won't go underwater. So I think they will either have separate vehicles to go underwater, unless they decide, we can make it. We can just say 900 years in the future, we've created ships that can go in space and underwater. I mean, they can do whatever they want, really, because they can just sort of explain. You say science.
Yeah,
the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a whole load of work. I'm sure the water stuff, I think, is probably a bit further away, but you never know with CIG. Some clever clogs could crack some sort of clever new coding or something, and then next thing you know is we're getting submarines being sold to us. You just don't know. So
I'll buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me buy it. I want it. It's amazing. Underwater salvage. Do it. You bought a space game. I want a submarine now. It's fine.
Well, if they're gonna sell it or introduce it to us, I don't know. It's too far away off, but it would definitely be cool to have it. Yeah.
Like I say,
a feature that we'd love later.
Planets was ages away, and then all of a sudden they cracked it. You just don't know. That's the thing I've realised in this.
Yeah.
You just don't
Same
know.
with underground bases, caves.
That wasn't going to happen.
I'm sure we will see caves fairly soon.
Well, they said at one point they couldn't do it. They're like, "Oh, the voxels, we can't do it. We're not going to be. We can't fold the mapping in on itself, and blah blah blah. We were not going to be able to do it." And then all of a sudden, 7-8 months later, they're talking about caves and finding things underground, and
I think it was Shiver Battery from the base radio that was having an office tour and having a talk with one of the developers, and he was asking the questions, can you guys do caves? No, we can't. And then he said, well, if you can you put a base underneath the ground? And they said, well, that is possible. Okay, then you can do caves as well. You only have to
You just do a base with cave-looking
Yeah.
walls.
something in front of it to hide it. Yeah.
Then it
Makes
looks like a
sense,
cave. Yeah, it's a base, but it's not like a cave. Because I think they sometimes get stuck into the mindset that it needs to be real. You know, it's like I always sometimes think they almost
they can't fake it.
They can't fake it. It's like, oh, we can't. What do you mean fake? That's impossible. It has to be a real. The map has to actually fold in and be like as if it's real life. And it's like, they still get stuck into that mindset perhaps a little bit too much. That's really interesting. Thanks for that.
I guess there could be a lot of things that come later down the line because technology then suddenly allows it, even though they may have signed off on it instead. It's not going to happen, and then have to go back and readdress these things as long as they don't sort of hold up anything.
Well, there was a great video. I didn't put it on here, but because we're talking about it, there was a great video that somebody. I say great. It depends what view. Some people obviously find this stuff offensive, but I always find it interesting. He was basically talking about.
Oh, it's a great opener. That some people find.
I find it offensive.
Okay, hit record.
So it was to do with the fact that they were talking about Star Citizen, and they were saying how RTX ray tracing and the new NVIDIA. They were showing the new NVIDIA did a big show recently. I can't remember where it was, and they talked about the new technology, and they were showing off all the ray tracing and all the just this new super good graphics, you know, as they do. And so somebody was saying CIG is pushing hard, creating all this technology to make things look super good looking, but there's another company doing it outside of CIG, creating it already for their graphics card and for the software anyway. So why the hell does CIG, you know, his point was, why on earth do they spend so much time trying to do this when they should be maybe focusing, in his mind, focusing more on gameplay and trying to get that right, because the visuals they can do later anyway, because the graphics and the stuff is going to be moving all the time next to them, like on a train track. That's just constant. That's a guaranteed constant. Whereas they obviously
I
feel,
don't know. If you rely on graphic card techniques and you put in crappy textures in your game, it will not look good in the end. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much. I agree. Go on. Sorry.
yeah, I don't know. Do you mean that they shouldn't polish it that much and rely more on graphics cards?
I think that's the point. I think that's more the point. I think the point is that they're spending so much time building the tech and all the other things for the graphics, whereas there are other people already doing that. NVIDIA, you know, all the graphics companies are already doing that. So why not just utilize their expertise? Exactly. I don't know exactly how it works, and I know that, and I need to dig into it more. This is literally, I'm like ocean wide on my knowledge and an inch deep. You know, it's pretty much, I'm kind of very shallow on this. Okay, guys. So
I can imagine in case of lighting, sunbeams, that sort of shit.
God rays.
God rays, yeah. You can rely on having your graphics card working for that, but it's also textures and other things that really needs to be done by the artist, I think, and not, it can't be done by the graphics card. So the automatic dynamic things, it needs to be done by a graphics card. But
I haven't really seen it enough, but I don't know. I'll presume it's using what's already there and then tarting it up. So there's probably going to still need to be an element that the games company is going to have to make themselves. So I can't really say much because I don't really know much about it. But I think it was like when they showed like the ray tracing going over and then it adds all this lighting effect. It probably can work certain things out. But I imagine there's probably needs to be a certain standard within the actual game itself. You couldn't just get like a blank room and put a 3D model with nothing on it and then say, there you go, fix this for me. I can't imagine it would make a whole scene for you.
Yeah. But that's not how it works, I guess.
No, and like I said, I'm very thin on the knowledge. It's one of those things that I have to dig into it a bit more to really do. It was something I was going to talk about a little bit later on another show, but we can touch on it now. But it's certainly interesting, and like you kind of like it does make you kind of think, oh, you know, like, are you wasting your time a little bit? I mean, I don't think they are. And don't get me wrong, I don't think they are. But then you kind of go, Yeah, I don't know. I need to think about it more, and I'll construct something a bit more solid, I think, to discuss this topic, because I think it's an interesting one for the podcast at some point. But I think I need to do more research on it.
Rather have it this way than the guys being slacking and yeah.
I don't think they'd
putting
slack.
out
It just
their
means
crap
they focus on something
on
else.
the,
Do you know
on the
what I
wrong
mean?
stuff.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
not. They're
what
not
you mean. I know
slacking. There would be more. Maybe we'd have all of our gameplay mechanics in Tier 0 rather than just a couple that we've got now, because there'll be a whole that have focused their division team rather than making everything look beautiful. Then they went. But then the argument is always gets thrown back at me, which I think is true. If the game didn't look as good as it does, would it have made as much money? That's always thrown back to me as well, which
but
is
again,
true.
no, it's not the same team, is it? The graphics team are not the guys that create the gameplay, and vice versa.
No.
No, but the point is they have the hiring focus, and then it's like what seems to be they talk about polishing all the time. It's just it's the perception of focus. I know, absolutely, you're right. I mean, end of the day, a perception of focus versus the reality of staff. How many staff are working on this versus, and then there's a whole. This is, like I said, this is a big open conversation. I'd really like to have more. If I'm going to talk about it properly, I think I need to have more facts and exactly how games companies do utilize NVIDIA graphics and how what companies use their graphics card. At the end of the day, CIG seems to be more everything's internal. And then they use their own software and everything seems to be that way. So I need to do loads more research on this to make this more of an informed conversation and to hear what you guys think. Otherwise it's really, really thin and everyone will just correct me and
we're just speculating.
Yeah, it's super speculative.
Yeah,
so. Exactly. But it's just interesting. It's definitely an interesting one.
I mean, this is 10% Star Citizen and the rest of it bullshit. This show, anyway. So
yeah, that's true. That is true. The new Alien Quantum effects look pretty sick. There's a few things on Reddit. There wasn't anything majorly kind of again, it's just become desktop screensaver. Like literally, obviously, everyone over Christmas that bought the game is just doing everything everybody else has ever done over the last 2 years, taking pictures of suns rising, taking pictures of them standing outside something. It's just like I literally just want to have a filter, someone to create me a filter that just says, if anything says a desktop screenshot, it will
you
filter
can't
out.
blame the new players.
I don't blame them. It's fine. It's great.
It reminds me of what I was going to say, people's holiday photos, but actually I'm just as bad. There's like 50,000 sunsets and then one picture of me in it.
You only post feet on your holidays.
I do only post
on the
feet.
beach.
That's because that's what everyone demands. They want to see my feet.
With Crocs or without?
Without Crocs, actually.
Well, I did the same at Christmas. Because I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which my wife bought me for Christmas, which I'm going to come on record and say is easily top 5 game I have ever played. It is sensational. Like I said on my tweet when I tweeted out the other day, the quality of pacing in that game is, you cannot, there is no point. I sometimes go, I'm a little bit bored. Oh, something happens. Or I'm a little bit, oh, something else has happened. Or I've got another mission to take up. Or I've got this to do. Or, oh, I can go fishing. I can go hunting. I can do this. I can do that. I can see this. Oh my God, the weather's changed. I'm now suddenly soaked. And kind of, the audio is tremendous. The visuals on my PlayStation, on my screen, are superb. It is. I felt like I'm in Hell on Wheels, Mr. Bohammond. I've even dressed him up. I have a big fucking awesome beard. I've been taking screenshots like crazy on my PlayStation 4. I swear it's going to be filled up with photos. I'm in love with the game. If you've not got it, I mean, if you're waiting for the PC, I think you guys are going to be blown away when you play it on the PC if they do it and up the graphics. I cannot begin. If Chris Roberts saw that game and was obviously excited by that game, if Star Citizen can even reach a percentage of that in terms of the feeling of riding in on a horse into a town, and then they have the city in there as well, and just
riding
the feeling
on a horse
of
in Port Olisar.
Just
I bought a space game.
Or an alien horse.
Space
I just.
I think what Chris wants to bring in is the fucking hair growing.
The hair growing. Yeah.
He's figured out how they do it now.
It's quite good. It's really impressive, actually. It's genuinely I was like, and the voice acting, and I just kind of go, that is the standard there. So for me, I was going, okay, Squadron 42 as a single player game has to hit for me. For space, that's the standard. It's got to be up there. If I want the Star Citizen needs to, if the Squadron 42 has to hit, it's in my head, I want that in space. Is the best way to describe it. Like, and when you play Red Dead Redemption 2, you'll know what I mean. If they can create that feeling of kind of like if you build your own space, if you can build your own, it's just I don't know. I just literally I was blown away by it, and I was like, that's a slowish game. You know, there are moments of real slowness and traveling between locations, and there's a real you have to think about what you're doing. Like there's a bounty system on you, which is really painful. I literally. I play it bad. Let's put it that way, okay? Surprise, surprise. And so I have like a bounty of 1,100, I think it was. I think I wanted $500 in every single place on the, or 15. Yeah, it's about 1,500. Pretty much wanted in every single place. I mean, and what can I say? There was a woman doing the women's activist rights, like, and she was really irritating. And so I had to deal with the situation. Sure. And then the entire town, the city decided that it was against me. And so, yeah, it was...
This is what I think of your rights.
Have those suffragettes not suffered enough?
But she wasn't really nice to me. She was rude. But
to be fair, it's the only time that I'm really jealous about the console players.
Yes,
If when Rockstar release the game.
Yeah.
Every 5 years. It's so annoying.
You know, and I know that the people say, oh, well, they have a good engine to work off of, but I know that they strip a lot of the engine away and start again on many things. Like I said, just the sound of like the ching sound of the cowboy boots when he hits the ground and the sound of walking through the snow at the beginning, the first scene where he's walking through, and then they have the cinematic camera. CIG, please create that type of the ability, like an automatic camera that kind of creates like a cinematic effect. Like when my missus was sat on the thing and she literally was like that going, wow. Like when we were going through the roaming hills and like, you know, and you had the full landscape and it was just, yeah, I can't, anyway, whatever. I know this is a Star Citizen thing, but like, that's the standard right there. That's the fucking standard, and it is high.
We can change it to a Red Dead 3.
We should do. I think we'll have to. But I'm just saying, the standard is so high. I have such a high standard now based on that game. I'm like, for Squadron 42. And I'm sure they will. The voice acting is going to be sensational.
Do they have Gillian Anderson?
No, but they've got lots of whores.
Wait a minute.
They've got plenty of whores in there.
Anderson a whore?
I retract my glass.
No, I didn't say that. You said that. I said they have plenty of whores. I just said in Red Dead Redemption, there's like, you know, it's the usual stuff. It's great. It's great. I honestly, it's brilliant. They've done such a great job. Great job. I need to do a YouTube video on it because it's so good.
So what do you think? Do you like Red Dead then?
Yeah. If you've not bought it and you're thinking about it and you're kind of like, no, it's tremendous. And they've got the online multiplayer part coming as well, and I'm super hyped to see what that's going to be like. Like I said, I'm you know, if the flight model sucks ass, then that'll be literally what I'll be doing. I'll be just moving straight into online cowboys and just, yeah, it's tremendous. Can't wait. Right, okay, so
there's a couple of questions. Nasty wanted me to read this out, so I'll read that one out. It's basically to you, anyway, and he says, is Madness going to go to this year's BritainCon for a showdown with Rambo?
See, people have been asking. Quite a few people have been asking me this, actually. Will I come to BritainCon? It all depends a little bit on...
Fight me. It's like a bigger scale of fight me, brother. Fight me.
Fight me. Yes, is the answer. I will go to BritainCon, and I will more than likely be forced into a combat situation with Mad Rambo. So
you do a full trailer.
Everybody will want it. Everybody will want it. Yeah, so I will break my hand on the way up. I'll injure my wrist on the way up and make it so that it doesn't happen. No, yes, of course. Of course I will come up and fight Rambo.
That's what you need to do, man. Is you need to do a Rocky/boxing match type trailer, you versus Rambo.
Get up on stage. The weigh-in sort of thing.
Somebody else, like, I'm hoping Epic Zach will come along and just like mop the floor, or someone else will come along and mop the floor with us all, and it'll all be over in seconds.
These peasants.
Yeah, again, that could be down to, when is it, in April? So the flight model will be out before then, right? The new one.
Yeah, it should be.
So it could be like a full leveling of the playing field. We'll be literally like all flying completely scratched with a new flight model. So it could be really interesting. Yeah, full noobs.
Learning the game.
Yeah,
do a challenge. Get two asymmetrical ships and fight in atmosphere.
Do you know AC AC needs an
And the
atmosphere
ground wins.
combat situation.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
They really do.
Like an actual dogfighting World War II style.
They need to have like an environment where you can go up into space and fight, and you can come down like a quarter of a map or like a planet or something where you can go take people from space into atmosphere, but make a thinner. So it's not like Hurston, yeah, not like that. Yeah. But it's a much shorter distance to get to the planet. But you get the atmospheric effect on the bottom, and then you can take them up into space and then fly space and then mix it up and see how that would be really cool. I would love that from CIG.
But they do definitely need just like a separate atmospheric flight arena commander mode.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I think it's
Do you think there's still a place for that now? Because are people using Arena Commander to fight?
Not at the moment, but I think ultimately Arena Commander Starmarine is imperative once persistence comes in a little more and they stop wiping things as much. Because at the moment there's no real consequence. You can lose everything and it doesn't really matter. You're not going to die full stop. It's not your character. But when we, this whole Simpod idea is if you want to do dogfighting, but you want to practice at it and you are not that good at it, you're bound to die quite quick. So having an AC is imperative. Not at the moment, but I think when 3.5 does come out, if AC is in a decent place, I will play it a lot more to get practicing with dogfight. Even just as a basic starting ground, dogfighting against Vandal, and then going up to real players. I think it's a good a good training ground for new players.
Yeah.
I mean, when I played Jumpgate, which I'll talk about now and again, but they had a similar thing. I don't do it that often, but it's because it's one of the space games that I played a lot for years, and it's the same thing. So they had like an arena commander, which was the same, basically exactly the same thing. You could go in and you could hire any of the ships in game, fit them out however you wanted, and then fight. And it got used a lot because, like you said, once the game's live, and if you die in space or you crash on it, it costs all your materials and everything. It becomes expensive to just sit there and practice dogfighting. So the arena was then used to do that, to be able to give you all the practice in doing all your dogfights and events. And I agree. I think once you start losing shit in the game, then I think the arena commander will see like a resurgence. And also, I think along the lines of when space gets bigger, it takes for ages to travel. If people just want a quick game of something, it's going to be too much more effort to go and find people. And the same with Starmarine. You want a good bit of FPS. It's going to be probably a balance between actually going and hunting down and finding people, and then actually just saying, well, do you want a quick game of something, and logging in and playing it in Arena Commander instead.
I wouldn't be surprised if there'll be a case in point where, for example, people who will be like almost like a sports, like talk about esports. There'll be the pilots who really just want to do combat all the time, who will just literally log in to do Arena Commander, and then the Arena Commander matches potentially will be projected to video where people can, on their travels of a great distance, will be able to watch the arena matches live via different cameras in the system. So you'll be able to watch the matches. Maybe they'll be able to bet on the matches. So you'll be able to drop money on who's going to win or who's not going to win, and you'll be able to almost like your elite status within the verse will be able to be risen. Your reputation will be risen the more better you do in Arena Commander. So like, for example, like the Templar ones and all that. Yeah, exactly. And then bets will go on, and they'll maybe be able to bet on themselves to make more UEC. So they make
a bit like top esports. I mean, they have said that they want to have a full-on esports influence in the game, like as in Satapon or whatever it was. But I think it'll be a case of, like today, the top esports players of today in Call of Duty and stuff, they become famous in their own right because of how good they are at that game. So, yeah, I can see the top ranking maybe holding actual events, AC events in-game where you go to an arena and they have the sim pods lined up, big screens, and you can go and attend it. And like you say, they'll stream that. Hopefully, that'll be so cool, if you're bored on your way to Hurston, and you're in your back of your whatever ship and you're watching a TV screen and you're watching Madness fight it out. It'd be amazing. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if they do it.
I hope they do, because they've got in my head, based on what they've spoke about, they've got the ability, if they do everything through Spectrum and they talk about this stuff, I'm like, why not? Like, and then like I've always wanted them to do it so you could potentially watch Twitch streams as well, or if they move to a full progressive platform themselves, as a CIG I think will do, to a gaming platform similar to like a Steam or whatever, or all the other ones.
Well, Amazon Cloud, the AWS is linked with Twitch itself, isn't it? In some way,
of course.
I think they have said that they did say that they want to get it so you can watch people, but again, it's like, will it break them? It's like putting actual, real current music into the game. They can't do it because of licensing, but would it spoil the game to a degree because it's like putting modern day things in?
Yeah. You know? Well, you could kind of play on that though. You could make it like you're putting in an old A track of an old video footage from back in the day.
The 70s music.
You kind of like, yeah, exactly. Like you kind of like, oh, what shall I watch? And you pull up an old track or whatever, and it kind of gives you as fun. And it's all based on like retro videos from like back in the whatever. And it's as if you're watching old film footage. So it's not live in theory. It's live, you know, it's live, but like it's not really live.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, like what's it like? If anyone here watches Red Dwarf, like Lister watched the old Zero Hockey or whatever it was, like or Zero G Sport or whatever it was the thing, and he had the old videos that he used to watch, the matches and the seasons and stuff. So that would be my like how you could
sports bars.
Is a way.
Be a thing then. Yeah,
it's a way to do it. I don't see why not. You could easily do that.
They said that you can go to a bar in Art Court and sit down and put the TV on and watch.
Yeah, look at
the latest match or the Murray Cup. Yeah.
Wild speculation. Hey, do you know what? Fuck it. Why not? A little bit. This is the beginning of the year. This is where
it's
the
not
wild
all
speculation
though.
No,
they have said that they're going to put that in the game. They said you're going to be. I mean, whether it happens is another thing, but it's not speculation. That is what they want. They want
it's
in-game.
The intention, isn't it?
That's what the news van's coming in. Is it this one or the one after?
No, this
Reliant.
Reliant.
Yeah, Reliant. Yeah.
We won't have the ability to film though, will we? That gameplay's not in
exactly, but. You know, it's the start of that's what the news van's meant to be, so that you can broadcast what you're filming with it. And the other thing I don't know is I don't know with journeys. I know that there's obviously the time to get to places and the balance between how long it takes and that, but there's potential that if the journeys do last long enough for people that are going, especially on big multi-cruise ships, is to use sim pods like we had in the hangar to play an Arena Commander, and I definitely would see that happening. If you know that you're on 10-20 minute journey, you can easily go, right, let's like get all the crew could even just go, well, the ones that aren't working, let's all get in a sim pod and you do a training session in Arena.
And hope
what's
you're
Frank
not getting interdicted.
What's Frank doing in here? He's meant to be driving. No, I gave that to Bill. Bill's in there as well. What the fuck are you doing in here, Bill?
Jimmy and
Who's
Frank.
flying the ship? Who's flying the ship? I thought that was Tony's job. Boom. Everyone's done.
That Squadron 42 vertical slice, wasn't there a couple of sim pods in the Idris near the flight ready room?
Probably.
Where, what's his face? Jedi guy.
Mark Hamill.
Game,
Luke
Mark
Skywalker.
Damn. Where he's setting up his ship. Oi, Jedi!
Oh my god. Could you imagine like Mac in the street? Like Mark Hamill walks past. He's like, oi, Jedi guy.
You're that Jedi, aren't you? Fuck off back to Star Wars.
This is not the Jedi guy you're looking for. Goodbye.
Oh, okay, mate. Sorry.
Fucking brilliant.
So yeah. Anyway.
And this is the guy that told me about Omniskies, people.
Omniskies.
Omniskis.
Can we just get a vote in chat? Is it number 1, Omniskis? Or is it number 2, Omniskies? I may have emphasised that a little bit to try and swing the vote.
Everyone knows
number
it's
2.
Fuck, they're all putting 2.
Twos.
Thank you, man.
Rambo 1. Jumbo 1.
Omnisky. It's Omnisky, dude. Everyone says
Omniskis.
It's even.
Omniskis. Not anymore.
Oh, fuck you, Ryan.
It's split down the middle.
No. Number 2 wins.
No one cares. So it's like 4, 12, 24. Right. Okay, so I'm just checking the time because I want to kind of keep on track here with the time frame.
Yeah.
Time.
So, if anyone wants to get a drink, right? Let us book. We're moving to soapbox time now. My one is pretty substantial, so I'm gonna let you go first, dude. So you go. You have the stage, as they say, Bok. To
Oh, sorry. So yeah, When I'm typing, my brain shuts off.
It's okay. That's fine.
You were saying
you have the stage, so you tell us what you want. You have the focus point. You have the stage. You tell us one of the things. You're kind of one of the things. I think you got two things here, or one thing you want to talk about. So Star Citizen.
I basically just have one thing on my mind when I saw ADV, and that's the 3D map they showed.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to have other people's opinion about it because it looks beautiful. But then again, if they implemented the way they actually shown it in ADV, would you be satisfied with it? Because I think when I'm down on a surface or whatever, entering a station, a building in general, personally, I don't want to know the layout. And I certainly don't want to know where my enemies are located. So I was thinking, does it come with a fog of war? So you actually have to explore yourself before it becomes visible where you can go to. Furthermore, I was thinking, is it a standard in your Moby class? Can maps be downloaded from other people? Can you buy maps? Can you transfer it from a database from your scanning ship? Whatever. All that kind of stuff, you know. It's it feels a bit like cheating. And I know lots of games have mini maps and such, but that's usually the outside, the surroundings, not the actual building you're.
There's a lot of things that I've got my notes now because I can't remember it all. But like they have said that you will obviously, as you explore it, it'll open up the map more to you. What I would like to see, like you said about trading maps and buying maps, is someone like a cartographer, someone who goes to a location, maps it out themselves. It could just be a planet-side location. Maps out that sort of quadrant or however they're going to split the worlds up to make it more explorable and understandable. And then you can go and sell that information. And then maybe you go down to a trader in that local area. Like it could just be an outpost trader. And you think, right, well, we need to go to that quadrant. This is the closest trader to that quadrant. We'll see if he's got a data file for that. Right. And then you can buy that and go and I mean, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but that would be cool. There's also like the whole idea of seeing enemies on there, being able to distinguish if they're players or AI. I don't think they should have a distinction. I think it should just be if you see anyone on the map, then it's a case of we don't know if they're players, AI, enemy, creatures, you know, that sort of thing. Unless you've physically seen them or you've got maybe some sort of blade in your helmet that allows you to distinguish that difference, like a better scanner, an better audio recording or listening, maybe a heartbeat sensor, those sort of things. And I think this, like they said, it was obviously the first iteration. So as a first look of it, I think it looks really cool. And I'm liking everything so far, but there are, like you say, there are concerns and there's some, not concerns, but things that they will need to address. And I'm hoping that over time we will have our say in it all.
Right, yeah.
And we'll change it for them.
Well, just like Jumbo CB says in chat that I think the map in ADV was for Squadron 42, so it was already scanned and laid out. Was it? Or was it also designed for?
I think it was. I think that was Squadron 42. I do think that was because you'll know. You should, the maps. You should already kind of know your way, like it's for a new player.
In that case, I don't have any issues with it at all.
Well, no, I think you're right in being concerned for it, but I think you're right in asking like how will that system work in an environment where you shouldn't know what's going on.
I mean, it will come over to the PTU. That's not something they're going to say. But stick that in the PTU for sure. Yeah. I mean, personally, I hope it's a combination. I hope that there's, like, if it's a well-known station, like, say, for now, what we've got Port Olisar, then it's easy for them to map that out and you would have it.
Right.
If it's a location that you don't know, then maybe you don't have the map unless, like, you can buy it or, like, say there's something that's more legal, that's fine. You can, as you dock, you could buy it or something.
Somebody can scan it.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun if you... I was just thinking if you are actually, as another job or role, you could be someone who scans areas and discovers
a data runner type thing.
Yeah, well, let's say a cartographer, an explorer. It could be another route for an explorer. Is someone who goes and maps locations to sell on the information and then get a profit from it.
Yeah,
it'd be such a cool mission. Just a nice casual thing, unless you come across a creature and then you're like, fuck.
No, it's a nice addition to the exploration function role in the game.
But the one thing
if you're the first to do it,
make some money.
Yeah, I'm not keen on the whole show enemies though.
No, me neither.
I honestly don't think that should be in there, and I'm not even sure. Possibly show people maybe on some stations. Maybe if it's like a public area one, like Olasol, because it's they take the guns off of you and everything else, and you're all being monitored. Maybe, but I still don't think show enemies, because how do you know who's an enemy or not from just scanners?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a slight counter to that. I mean, if they allow you to be able to hack or put a cloaking thing on yourself so that you don't show up.
That's true. Yeah,
that
would be amazing.
Fun.
Or different signatures. You look like an antelope, but you're not. You're a human. Nobody knows.
Why is this antelope in the middle of the Kasaba outlet?
Well,
I'm pretending
an alien
to be
antelope.
a goat.
Do you know every animal in this world is either a goat or not a goat? That's a fact.
What have you been drinking?
True fact.
It's true. It's a true fact. Everything is either a goat or not a goat.
Yeah.
Why did I agree to come back to do this show?
Welcome back to 2019 Asylum Podcast.
I agree with what Miz is saying in terms of I agree. I don't think that you should show up on radar unless obviously there's weapons fire potentially, or some sort of audible kind of really loud kind of oh my god, there's loads of gunfire going on, and so there must be some sort of blips appearing to indicate that there's some sort of action happening. I don't think necessarily it could show if a target is bad or good, but then if you're in a spaceship, like for an Idris, for example, in Squadron 42, I can see how that would be the case, because you'd have cameras, you'd potentially have someone who's running security who would be saying, by the way, guys, there's 3 bad guys in corridor 24 shooting at, or you'd have on the spaceship, you'd have alien on board, Vandal, warning, sending out signals and signs to say that there's Vandals running. You can see, you could have alien blip, 1 minute it's here, the next minute there, the next minute it's there, the next minute it's there type of thing, because they move fucking quickly. So you could get
a classic
shits.
game.
Holy fuck! Where are they? Oh,
do you remember that Mega Drive Aliens game? Where you'd have that, and then one of your teammates would go down. Oh, that was scary as hell.
That would be great. You don't. It's not accurate. It tells you where they are if they're stationary and stops campers. Yay! I'm all for that. But if someone's moving, it encourages. Again, in my opinion, it encourages faster gameplay, which I'm all for.
Well, I think various upgrades, if you spend more, you can get a better piece of tech that will, Scanners version 1, only scanning a little bit. Scanners version 4 will scan you and tell you the ship, the pilot, the cargo, that sort of stuff. If you upgrade your internal security system for ships, or for your helmet that is scanning for maps, then you'll get more information, and it's up to you whether you want to pay out for that and run the risk of getting it nicked.
Yeah.
But I don't see why not. Degrees.
That could work on role reversal as well. Higher secure stations could have better security, so you would show up on the map, or everybody would be flagged and blipped on the map for that maybe. And I think some games have done it sort of they work through movement or something, so last known location. So it wouldn't be an exact replica of where people are, but there were 5 people in that room. They might not be there now, and then it'll update every so often or something.
I hope you get access to security cameras through your Mobiglass, so you can flick through security cameras to see. You'll be able to hack in, and you'll be able to look at a security camera corridor 24, on the map. You can allocate the map, and then a bit kind of Watchdog style. You're gonna go allocate that security camera, click on it, like in Metal Gear Solid as well, and you'll be able to see the security cameras in Metal Gear. I always loved that in Metal Gear. You can hack the camera, and then you'll be able to see the camera and you'll be able to see where the guards were patrolling, especially if you're a pirate. You know, think about the opposite side. If you're attacking a location, how cool it would be to be able to hack security cameras and see things through the Moby glass. And I think there's a lot of potential there in the 3D map. I do agree with you. I think it's very, very simplified at the moment, and I think they need to dial it up to the rest of the standard of Star Citizen. What I will say about the scanning mechanic, and this is what I was hoping, and I hope that they do something similar because they love their sci-fi, is from the wonderful movie Prometheus. One of the coolest things about Prometheus was the scanner. When the guy sends off the little drone things and they go off and they scan the information. For me, I would like that in Star Citizen. The ability, especially if you're exploring and stuff, you send off the little scanner and then it maps out the cave or the station or wherever you are, and it could potentially find things. And it could make it really cool. Like AI could suddenly, it could not work. It could suddenly disappear.
It's just, you just go,
and you're like,
they get to a certain corridor or something down the cave,
and they have a range.
Disappear. It's gone.
And you're like, okay. You know, like what the fuck just happened? You know, and you have to go investigate, or maybe they pick up on like life. Yeah, it would be. I'd love that. You know,
it could be the drones like on the Reclaimer. If you send them into a derelict ship, it could map it for you, similar to this, where. And that, I mean, we have those sort of tables on the big capital ships, or, you know, the holosphere sort of thing. So it could be that you send in a drone from your Reclaimer to go and have a look around a ship, and it will bring back the data of that map, or map out the ship for you and tell you where maybe there's a weapons cache, there's other things. But they did say, anyway, that map that they showed was very early on, and they said there's a lot of polish yet to come, there's a lot more functionalities to come. But yeah, that is solely Squadron 42 at the moment. Not to say that we won't see that in the PU. That is going to be the same thing we see in the PU, but by then it will be fully fleshed out to the point. Well, maybe not fully fleshed out. It might when they get it in Squadron 42, they may even pull that into the PU and as a version 1 of the FPS local area map. But it will have more functionality eventually. As a starting point, I think it's great. I just think it needs a little more tweaking here and there.
I mean, yeah, from the visuals of what it actually shows you, I really liked what I saw. Like I said, the only thing I'm really against from what they've done is seeing the enemies. But that might be specific to the Squadron 42 aspect. Like there might be a mission and they've got trackers on them or whatever. We don't really know
military.
Yet. And like you said, it's just a start. It's just a starting thing. It could even be for something they might want to use as like in the Arena Commander, can't remember what it's called. Star Marine, that's the one. Jesus, mine went blank. But yeah, it could be like a specific thing for that or something. We don't know. So yeah, but otherwise, I think they've done for a first iteration of it. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, like Tears. You know, there's nothing particularly new about it, but it's good to have it in there. I think definitely for me and a few other people, especially people at Lorville. I remember there was a new person going, "Help! I'm stuck at Lorville. I don't know where to go." You know, it's like he had no idea. So it would be cool if they can help people with maps.
But then he should read the signs. I think they did a great job at placing signs at Lorville, and that should be the first priority.
So you would say that the signs with the numbers on the floor for the where you spawn your ships is a really logical place to put the numbers for the hangars at Lorville.
I always forget
the hangar. I agree, but there are signs on the ceiling.
That's not a good signage at all.
No, but in front of that, there are signs on the ceiling that will direct you to the correct location.
How many times have you been to a city and you follow the signs to where you think it's supposed to take you, and you get there and it's like, well, wait a minute, this isn't right. And you end up having to walk around for ages, which then teaches you about the city. I think a lot of it should be down to exploring, and that's part of going to a new location.
Sure.
But obviously, yeah, having a map, because we all use fucking Google Maps or whatever when we go to places now. You know, where's Wetherspoons? Right, let's go have a pint, and then we decide where we're going next. That's, you know, so find the bar in Lorville, sit down, check your FPS map. Okay, this is where we need to go.
Yeah.
Jobs are good.
Yeah, I do get frustrated with like when they get mission givers and it seems really vague, and I don't know if the mission's broken or if I'm supposed to try and figure out where I'm supposed to go. Or that's like
it's like the challenge.
I'm reading it.
Is the game broken or is it supposed to be like this?
Oh, like And then there's a timer now on some of these missions, and I'm dyslexic, so this was one of my biggest bugbears. Is like, this is salty because I think this is justified salt. I get a mission from Rutu. I haven't ever managed to get Rutu. I finally get Rutu missions. I go there. I talk to him. He gives me these missions. I get through the second half of the second mission paragraph, and I'm reading it because I have to read through multiple times before I comprehend exactly what the mission entails. Because I'm looking for the bounty hunter one. I don't want, because it determines what ship I take. Because if I'm picking up cargo, I need to take my cutlass. If it's a combat mission predominantly, I'm just going to take my combat ship. By the time I got through half of the mission, well, fuck you then. I don't need to do anymore. I'm going to go get somebody else. I was like, Jesus Christ, I've just flown here for within your 10-minute allocated time, and now you're not happy with me. Or I was just like,
Has anyone of you finished the mission of that new guy Walter in Levski?
I know I haven't.
Wallace.
I can't
Wallace
get Ruto yet.
Or Wallace, yeah.
Yeah, all it is you pick up his little bag of drugs, you put it in your pocket, you go and then you put it on like the drug lab. Yeah.
Yeah, fails. Thank you.
Fails.
You're not supposed to smoke the drugs before you.
Sorry.
Open a little bit.
I
think that's the biggest issue at the moment with the game is that the missions. Well, one of the biggest issues is that the missions not the game, the alpha. Is that the missions just do not allow you to finish at all, and like the amount of times you start any mission, be it a cargo mission, be it a killing mission, or
I am so salty about the missions.
I've
completed one mission in 2 weeks. And not that I played a lot, but when I played, I tried all the missions and only one. And I was lucky with. I thought I was lucky with one mission that was actually a bounty hunter mission in Yella. So I went there. Finally, the target icon showed up. I was like, okay, now it's not bugged. I can actually kill the guy. I show up in front of that guy. Another player is there, shoots the guy. Mission failed. Fuck my life.
I think it's in a
they
good
fixed
place
that
right
now, haven't they? They fixed it a little bit, I believe, in the latest PTU patch in terms of the missions and how you get the bounty payouts and stuff. Now you can share the mission.
Yeah, but
the
that's
missions
when
don't
you
corrupt.
actually hit him, I guess.
Yeah,
like fire a single shot because I didn't get the time.
Oh yeah, no, that stuff is like the timers and some of these missions is a joke considering the game has got ridiculous lengths of time to get anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm like, you stick in timers on missions when you've got it's a long time to go and do anything, and I'm like, guys, come on, there's a point. Like, why are you doing that? Seriously, why are you doing that? There must be a reason.
Why are they adding them at the moment? Yeah, I do wonder. Is it because they don't want to have so many generated missions on the server? Like, is it causing code issues if you have like 100 go fetch this box? So maybe they need to like time them out. I don't know. But yeah, it does seem a little bit of a weird thing to stick in when it's not really needed at the moment.
I mean, maybe it's. I'd love to know why. It could be that they're gathering data on how long it takes people and like average times for missions, and they're gathering information on that kind of stuff. Like you said, I agree. It probably is definitely due to recycling missions and stuff. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm not going to say it too many more times. Is the Tony Z, the mission giving department, that whole section of Star Citizen? They need to up their game 20-fold this year. Because they're letting down the rest of the team. If you think of all the other teams rowing boats to get shit done, that is the team that's letting the side down, in my opinion, right now. So
I just see this mission givers department above the door. Oi, Tony! Sort it out, mate.
Sort it out, pal. Oi, you, Rebel, Jedi guy. Jedi guy, come here. Long-haired boy, come here. Let's have a chat. Oh, you've cut your hair. Hang on. You've lost your powers. You've lost your powers. Grow it again. No, I do. I think I think anyone can easily see that the fact that they've hired and they've applied for more AI people, I think, is a testament to the fact of that department is clearly they need to focus on it. We need to get that working, especially for Squadron 42. If there's going to be missions and shit running in that, and I imagine there will be.
Hopefully, a little more interesting than carrying a box.
Well, I guess it's more difficult than we think that it is.
Idris logistics. That's what we're going to be doing for most of the time.
That's what I mean. I think it's really hard. I think it's super, super, super difficult. I think it's the most difficult part because there's so many pieces like spiderweb coming together to make it happen. I think this is the hardest part of the game.
Make it happen. Cremate it happen. Fucking might as well cremate it anyway. Today, I tried to go on the PTU, streamed, crashed. Thought someone said, "Oh, just go on the PU, do the normal one, don't go PTU." I thought, okay, fair enough. Streamed, crashed. I was like, we're not playing anymore.
Oh, I thought there was an ending to the story.
That was the ending.
I give up.
That was it. I couldn't play it. Both the PTU and the live build were both
Live is
buggy,
okay for me.
crashing.
Live's okay.
Good for you.
No,
One
but
of my viewers.
no, but if you look at Regzilla and some of the other, like, it's seriously most people, like Star Citizen's having to entice people through messages to get them to play the PTU at the moment because there's such a little bit of an improvement in terms of missions and flight, like changing the gun and stuff. There's no real reason. So they're going, here you go, we're giving you loads of ships to fly because we need you to play it because we want to check stuff. And everyone's like, I'd rather just play the live version because all my mates are on that one.
When a new version comes out, everybody normally wants to play on the test server, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I'm happy on the PU.
Yeah, because it's running quite well.
Yeah.
So it's
Same
interesting. But everyone will be on the 3.5 for sure.
Skyven. I have to thank Skyven for taking me on a rally trip last 2 weeks. It's been so awesome to do.
Skyven's a gem.
Skyven is absolutely awesome guy from Germany, and he flies his Valkyrie, loads everybody up with cyclones and other things. And
We've got a Valkyrie. He's available for hire. He's available for hire for the Asylum.
Absolutely, he will. Yeah.
There we go. We got someone to take us to
to get us there
to the venue. So that's good.
That's the most fun I've had in weeks.
Yeah, well, I had fun because I joined you. We had a laugh. I really enjoyed it. I joined you and we did a little racing, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy myself. Right. So we're moving on to the meaty, chunky section, which is the flight model. So this is the madness soapbox section. Okay. So
we're just moving on to it now.
Yeah.
But I'm just
20
building
minutes.
myself a great cat while we're waiting.
You carry on.
Entertained? Are we not? Are you not entertained?
I will.
Miserable.
Okay, so I'm getting geared up for this one. Okay, so this is what's been giving me sleepless nights. Besides alcohol, generally infused dreams. This is literally the biggest kind of. Yeah, this is genuinely a big kind of thing for me. So why it's giving me nightmares and why I worry that it could potentially be the death of Star Citizen for combat pilots. Okay? So I'm going to got a couple of videos. I'm going to kind of show everything out here. So just bear with me. So this is my interpretation of what Chris Model wants the flight model to be and why he thinks it's bad. So Chris Roberts takes and loves the cinematic experience, spinning guns, everything you see, and he wants this type of game. He wants this type of experience. So let me just pause it for a second. And this is what he wants the flight model to be like. So bear with
Just
me.
waiting for it to catch up.
Okay, so here we go.
Enemy fighters coming your way.
My scope's
If you have
negative.
any
I don't see
questions,
anything.
feel free
Bring
to
up your
focus on
visuals,
that.
County. Here they come. Watch
So-
it, you've got one on your tail.
So this is he wants this flight model. So you can see this is a flight model. There's aeroplanes in space. George Lucas basically took Modern Warfare 2, not Modern Warfare 2, World War 2 fighting and World War 1 kind of dogfighting and a space version of it. Line in front combat scenario.
Several fighters have broken off from the main group. Come with me.
I mean,
Okay, so that's
the
what he
one running
wants.
Away, he's just flying away all the time. He's not even maneuvering to shoot back. He's just.
Yeah, so that's what you get. So now let's think about it logically. So I'm going to give you kind of like a little bit of spiel and science, okay? So I'm hoping the audio comes through. So this is a very well-known guy talking about space. I'm building up some information here. So this gentleman here, Neil deGrasse, talks about.
But
he's
if you
talking about
want to hate Trump rationally,
and
you want to not hate him no matter what he says. You want to evaluate statement by statement what he says, right? That's what you need to do. He says, I want a space force. Well, let's think about that.
Can you hear this guy? Can you hear
In the Second World War, there was the Air Force, except they were not their own branch. They were part of the Army. It was called the Army Air Force. And then we realized that command and control in the air needs different kinds of soldiers, because they have to be pilots. It's a different kind of decision making, different kinds of tactical actions you would have in the theater of operations. And so it was sensible to spawn off a new branch of the military called the Air Force. No one today would question whether that was a good idea. Today, you should know that operations in space, in the vacuum of the universe, is a different regime that you're operating in from moving through the air. Your hardware looks different. Your strategies are different. Your command and control is different. So it's not a crazy, just because it came out of Trump's mouth doesn't make it a crazy idea that you might want a Space Force. In fact, I had proposed a Space Force in 2001 when I was on a committee.
So what he's getting at, which is one of my things, is that there is a difference between an Air Force and a Space Force. And that is kind of one of my big kind of things, is that there is a fundamental difference between those two things. And we're talking about in this game, 1,000 years has passed in humanity. We would initially, our first spaceships and stuff would have probably looked like fighters and would have been inspired by all that. But once you get into more of advanced combat in space, because that's what would happen, because we've met the Tavarians, we fought with the Vandals, we've been fighting in war and all the rest of it, we would have got pretty clever with space combat. Okay, so I'll come back. We'll come back to my next video. So this is like I said, I'm just teeing up. I think so. What we have now. Okay, so this is a video from Zimmy, who is an awesome combat pilot from Angels of the Warp, and this is nose-facing combat, and this is in the game right now. Okay,
as you can see, I am making every effort possible to keep the target in the red circle at all times, which allows me to.
So ignore the fact he's over-exaggerating his movements, but
deliver a shot on target.
Really.
You'll note, because it's called the rocking. This is called the bathtub technique. Business tutorial on Void. He's a tutorial. He does great tutorials. I'll link him later. But this flight model, basically, when you're doing 1v1, you are facing your opponent. You're not doing the Star Wars flying away from it. You're engaged with each other in combat, or you're turning and spinning into things. Now, obviously, if you're engaged in a target, you've got someone behind you. Of course, you're going to get that. So. But there's a good chunk of the combat you're facing on, whereas in I feel like that's kind of not been the case. So that's the kind of the nose facing. So we then also have, this is Templar 1. He's a renegade. This was the number 1 dogfighting pilot in the game.
Arc, we're gonna blow past and then do.
And he's again showing. He's a superb pilot. This is a previous flight model. I'm gonna come back to these videos. I'm gonna come back to this to show the difference between the flight models as well, and why the old flight model is so much better than the current one, and why it does need to be improved. I'm not disagreeing that this flight model needs to be improved. It does, but I'm hoping it gets more back to what it was rather than too crazy. So, and I'll show you some of the videos. So you will notice, if we go back to the other one, if you notice the way that the ship's flying, look how it's rocking around. If you know, ignore his rocking around, but you can kind of see the other pilot ship is flying all over the place. And I think he tries to land a couple shots in the video that he does. He can barely, he hits them, but he's good. He's a competent pilot. Whereas if you see Templar's 1 flight model, you see how much more smoother the movement, obviously they're flying a bit slower, but you can kind of see, this is in real time, you can kind of see how you can land more consistent shots in the previous flight model. But anyway, but my point was, it's not the cinematic version of the flight model. And then here's my next piece of information. So why the Sabre and the Santa Coya, the Q&A. So basically in the Q&A, if you read through it, this is how they break down the key ships at the moment. And this was in the Q&A for the Santa Coya. This is from CIG officially, okay? So we expect that the Super Hornet will be favored by sluggers and endurance fighters who can maintain steady firing solutions. The swift and stealthy Sabre may be favored by pilots who prefer to ambush, and the boom and zoom tactics using momentum to strike and fade. Now that is a totally different way to the way people have been flying the Sabre. The Sabre currently has been flying as a kiting, very much similar to almost like a Super Hornet in a way, and using on the X-Drave. This is where it gets interesting. The Santa Coya may be the favorite of consumer dogfighters and sneaky pilots who thrive in turbulence and crowded, tricky situations, using fire, duck, and cover because it's got the different engines on it. So this one will now, in theory, become what the Sabre was. It has the same loadout, it has 4 size 3s, and that's CIG's words for it. Okay, now they did obviously say, up to us, we will be able to change things and fly things differently. So for me,
the biggest issue that they've got is that they're trying to find that balance, aren't they, between fun realism and sci-fi, and I think that's where they're really struggling. Like you say, it's that you could do a Star Wars effect, but that's not real to space. You could play Hellion, that's real to space. Imagine dogfighting or space combat with Hellion. It would just be boring and shit.
You'd wait 4 minutes for a missile to hit you and die, because that would be the reality. It would just be the Expanse. It's like, oh, they've locked on a missile, we're dead, everybody evacuate or try and get into something right home to your loved ones, because you're going to die in 4 minutes because the missile's going to hit you, and there's nothing you can do about it because we're traveling.
It's going to be real hard to strike this balance, and I can see where your concern's coming from. Like in Atmosphere, great. It's going to be dogfighting with shit ships that are like bricks. It's going to be even harder, but with Gladius, Sabres, aerodynamic ships, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be exciting. You get it into space, probably at the moment, 80-90% of people will just joust. And it's not how it should be. But I don't know what the answer is, and I hope CIG have an idea to make it interesting.
So I've got more, and I'm going to just say because I've done my homework on this, and I've been doing this for a while. So, okay, so here's something that I found really interesting from the CitizenCon, which I actually disagreed with to a degree. I actually heavily disagreed with the CIG. So let me play this and you guys can hear it. It's a short clip from the actual presentation about the flight model and their interpretations of how they see it, which I thought was really interesting. Okay.
Currently flying around, it's sort of, the ships kind of feel quite similar between a lot of them, and they have so much acceleration that it's, you can't really feel all of the workings of your ship, and that's really not what we want. And to go into that, we really want this system to be kind of reactive to what's going on inside your ship. So it's not as simple as just flying and then you feel your ship's handling and then you do your combat and whatever. We want you to feel what's happening inside the ship's systems, like the fuel and the power and everything, and that should really feed into what's happening in the flight model. And currently, we just don't really have anything like that.
Okay, so that was one of the
hopefully
they talk about
this
the experience.
Shrink
that down. And then I think
they get thrust assigned to each direction.
The momentum.
Okay, so one of the things was that first one is they talked about how they don't feel that the ships feel differently between each other. And I couldn't disagree with that status more. Anyone that's a kind of a combat pilot or anyone that's flown to anything I can already see the differences between the ships. And they actually, like, if you get into a Sabre, it flies differently to a Hornet, super differently. My Moist Noodle, like, he didn't know any different. Like, when he was first flying the game, he was like, they all fly the same, they all kind of suck. But once I kind of showed him how to fly properly and the differences and how to be a better combat pilot, he's now had a Sabre. He flew yesterday, I think it was 2-3 days ago, he flew a Sabre. He got into a glaive, didn't like it. He got out of his Sabre the other day on stream, which had been flying for ages, got into a Hornet. Got tore up, didn't like the way that the ship fly. He suddenly said, Madness, I get what you mean now when you say that the ships do feel different. They do. All of the ships actually feel different right now. I disagree with with Coulson's actual idea that they really do. Like, I don't know what he was. I was really confused by this whole idea that the ships don't feel different, because they really do.
He might be comparing it to how they feel in his build, because. Like, at the moment,
he's talking about before and why this is why they need to change it, Mac. That's the point. This is why they felt they needed to change it.
But I'm wondering that if like, he's taking what he has now, which, I guess he's comparing what we have now to what he is currently playing with, because that's what he's coming from. Maybe he just wants the ships to be even more distinctive to what they are. I can tell the difference between the ships, definitely. There is a difference between them. They're not all the same at all. I mean, obviously, if you compare a small ship to a large ship, there's a huge difference. But even the small individual sort of fighters do feel slightly different. I think what he's saying is the sort of cross-section, the mass of the ship, the shape of it is going to affect it even more so than, well, it shouldn't do in space as such. It should just be down to the maneuvering thrusters. But in atmosphere, I think they are going to feel very distinctive, and we saw that in the demo on the the flight thing that we were showing there, that you can see the difference there between fighters.
I'm going to show you the video, the one you talked about in terms of the way that the ships fly. Now, I couldn't quite grasp it, but I'm gonna bring up some of the Temple of One videos and some of the way that the ships, again, just to kind of like show how the kind of erratic and kind of like crazy they are. Now, they speak about in this next video, they talk about the thrusters, and one of the big things, and I understand this, and I actually do think this makes sense, is the small thrusters are overpowered. They generate way too much thrust. There's no question. The bigger thrusters on the back should be generating more of your thrust, but if they want, this is where I get really confused, but if they want the ships to fly differently, do not make the way the ships fly by taking all your thrusters on the side and all these little thrusters that you've done, because some of the ships have different numbers of these thrusters, okay? Not every ship has, like the Saber's got quite a few, so that's why it can do really good siding, whereas the Hornet doesn't have as many, so that's why it does more Y-axes and big thrusters on the back, so you get, again, immediately a different. By then immediately making those side thrusters a bit shit is really kind of the way I've looked at it. All you're doing is relying on everyone using those back thrusters, which turns your flight model into what they showed us. And this is where I get concerned. So I'll kind of like watch a bit of this video and then you watch how...
They get thrust assigned to each direction.
The momentum part is key here. Like at the moment in the game...
Let's talk about momentum and the thrusters.
Maneuvering thrusters have like absurd amounts of power to them.
Yep.
And this changes that.
Significantly. In 3.3, there are actually ships that have like these tiny little maneuver thrusters and these giant main thrusters, and the maneuver thruster has more thrust than the mains. So no more of that. We're going to make this a lot better.
She can tell us how wrong you are.
So but so he's talking about how they're no longer going to do that. Now I understand that, and it makes sense to me. But then this is how it looks and plays. Okay, they're going to change it. Oh no, they'll improve it. This is what it looks like. So this is the Gladius. Now the Gladius has been moving left.
So we look at the Gladius. The Gladius has these two really big thrusters.
This Gladius is a wickedly mobile and fantastic little dogfight.
Straight away,
and just the first thing you need to notice is they are just making these ships moving a straight line. Was the first thing I noticed. And if you watch them trying to turn and stuff,
I make a left turn, you can see how much more drift there is than there used to be. You really want to feel the momentum when you're moving a ship around.
So everyone was clapping. I was like, "What are you clapping for?" That was the first thing.
So I think the Gladius...
So he's now turned that into a Y-axis, because all the thrusters coming on the back and those side thrusters aren't so powerful anymore. So now this ship is no longer kind of being able to do lots of different side movements and up and down because it's very well balanced in its thrusters. This now suddenly is predominantly forward-facing with a few thrusters to do a few things. So now you're changing it to a Y-axis flying ship.
This has quite a few thrusters that can point downward, so you will actually feel differences in the layout.
Okay, so decouple will come into effect. Yeah, decoupled will definitely come into more of a space, and that will make things interesting. But you're still momentum. Your momentum's going to be going forwards, Mac. So you decouple to turn onto a target, but we're still going to be going in one direction predominantly. So what you get now,
thrusters actually,
we'll move
on target. What
so
we
now
have
they
with
bring
other
us.
ships.
They bring us into.
Think,
where is it?
So
there's
I think
a few other ones. There's a few other videos. Then we get to a
heavier.
So this is a bigger, heavier ship. So in theory, this should fly.
Has weaker directions in all other axes except for going forward. So it has that huge main engine.
So what we're getting now with this is we're getting a slower pickup of acceleration. So we're getting a slower inability to move from that direction to that direction. But that's not meaning I'm moving around. All that means is the Hornet is literally going to rely on its armor heavily because it's going to be hit a lot, because it's going to be slow. When you try to turn it around, it's going to be very slow to get back up to speed, but it's got a big tank. But we're still moving only in predominantly feels like one direction.
Far more acceleration going forwards.
Sorry,
No, it's fine. And here's my thing, okay? If you think of all the ships at the moment in game, and this is the way I look at it, if you make all of those little side thrusters weaker by a huge amount, and you make it so that the back engines are the main focus, almost all of the ships, whereas before you had quite a degree of variety because you had more thrusters, almost all of them are going to fly in the same way, and you're going to get the X-Wing TIE Fighter dogfighting scenario, one behind another, or you're going to get one in front of the other jousting. And if you actually watched ATV recently, they talked about one of the problems they're having is the AI is just jousting with each other. And that for me says everything. My biggest heart worry is that literally they're turning the flight model into just fly, joust, turn on your Y-axis, turn around slowly, come at each other. They're dulling it down, making the movements completely, all that 6 degrees of movement will be gone. And they haven't brought the Santa Coya yet for me to really enjoy. If they bring that ship in now with the flight model, then things might be a little bit different. But it's not even on the roadmap for the year, so I don't even know what it's going to look like. So anyway, that's my bit done. So I hope you.
What I think is the ISCS is supposed to keep the pilot safe to a degree. Blah blah blah. It controls the ship. I think it's going to be similar to cars. If you're in a racing car and you have all the safeties toggled on, you're going to be slower than if you toggled off the ones that you can. Like no one's going to be as if you had traction control and stability control and all this sort of stuff. You're going to be making slower laps than if you turned it off and learnt the car. I think what you're going to benefit Madness from is turning off the safeties and using the ship as you probably want it to feel like. But what they're showing is the flight with all the safeties on in space, which is the IFCS controlling a lot of the ship itself. So it's always going to be a forward movement unless, like momentum, turning off the safeties will hopefully adjust that in some degree. I mean, I don't know much about it because I don't do a lot of dogfighting. But
no, it's.
I think if you remove the safeties, you would probably feel like it's more akin to what you're better at performing in. Whereas, as me as a shitty dogfighter, I'll have all the safeties on because it makes the ship control better for me.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
We'll have to probably have as much of the safeties off, which then comes back to a whole point about G-Safe and blacking out and all this. Someone made a great comment to me about that earlier, which we can talk about in a second. But I agree. Like, we'll have to turn everything off to try and get anywhere near to what we used to have. Like someone says in chat, he says, I don't agree with this. Maybe say you don't agree with this at all. That's fine. You're absolutely fine. You're allowed to disagree with it at all. My biggest worry is this is not just me just saying it just based on visual information and feedback from that, but it's also based on feedback from people who were at CitizenCon as well this year and who flew it and who are great pilots at AWOTL, and they cornered David Coulson at CitizenCon and they said to him, it's shit. And well, they didn't say shit, but they probably said it ain't great. Please tell us that it's not going to be airplanes in space. And because for me, my biggest worry at the moment, based on what I've seen and the communication, the language is it's airplanes in space. That is not a good thing for this game. You get Elite Dangerous style game. You have 6 degree. One of the most unique things about this game, and I'm going to tell you now, is the way the game has flown and the way that they've, I think, got to almost a perfect level. They can keep tweaking it. They've got to a wonderful arcadey / realistic. They've got that beautiful balance in my mind between the two in some of the previous flight models and almost there with the current one. It needs improvement because a lot of the guns you can't stay on. You could see with the previous video from Rogue Squadron. But they're almost there, and I worry they're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. And if they fuck it up hard, there are a lot of pilots who've already left waiting for this new flight model to come in because they don't like the bath rocking around thing because the flight model is not good, this 3.0 onwards. So if they fuck it up again, they ain't coming back. I guarantee it, because that will be it. They'll be done.
But if they say it's all jousting now, which then you start thinking, oh shit, I don't want jousting. But they actually said in the sentence, we have found the AI resort to jousting, so we're doing something to make it not happen.
Yeah.
So they're actually. I mean, I get your concern because obviously they've said things and delivered worse or whatever. Not what they said they wanted to.
Yeah.
But I would rather just sort of wait and see what it's like, because for all we know, it could come in and it could be great. It could come in, it could be crap. It could come in and just could need a few tweaks. What would you want to see for spaceflight? Because I think spaceflight, as you say, should be completely different to atmospheric flight. Space and atmosphere is different. Yeah. It should feel unique and something that we've not really ever experienced, because none of us have fucking fought in space. I mean, I have. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I have no idea how it will feel like the new flight model. I can't imagine it. I really have to feel it before I can say anything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I like jousting, otherwise I keep losing people. But when you joust, you know where they are. You turn around, you know they're going to be in front of you when you come back.
I used to like that.
He's all over the place. He's like, where the fuck is he? And then you just get that stuck in that circle turning thing.
Yeah, they're dancing around each other and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I do agree it should be different, surface fighting and space fighting. But again, I don't have a clue what it will be like.
Yeah, no, I mean, Madness will have a much better idea than I will. That's definite.
I like I said, I'm trying to show. Like the thing is for me, I'm trying to visually show why I'm
plebs.
why I'm concerned about it, and why you may see a load of salt on Reddit if it does turn like this from people who are combat related, because what I'm trying to explain, educate, is this is the movement that they were enjoying being taken away from them with no replacement in game yet, other than the Karth roll in theory, which only has size 2 guns or whatever. Now that could become a meta, because people might say, well, I can get all over the target even with my size 2s. I put mass drivers on it and destroy everyone, because it has all the movement that I used to get in the previous flight models, and all the other ships are trash. You can see Sabres being burned by their thousands and Hornets to get Karth rolls, because the flight model is so poor. We'll be able to, maybe that will be it. Maybe we'll be able to see very quickly, and everyone will be like, the Karth roll is flight model is what we wanted. All these new ships are trash.
Kind of their argument, wasn't it? It was like, oh well, these ships that are designed differently will be able to fly better, but the problem is that there's like 1 to 160 or something. I don't know how many ships are up.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly my point. And also my other point, like I was saying before,
is it?
Yeah, exactly. You're turning everything, saying we're going to make all the flight model different. No, we're bringing everything to the same. And even the alien ships, the Vandal ships, operate on the y-axis and are designed to be almost attacking, like going straight at a target. You know, it's.
I'll be smugging my Reliant though.
And it doesn't fit lore. Like I've just proven it with a scientist from now, and also the fact that they're building a space force. Logic dictates that you would build spaceships, and this is a spaceship game as much as other things. And in my head, I would say they would be better to make it so, like they've originally said, like some ships that look more like aeroplanes will fly better in atmosphere. I'm like, okay, that's cool, that makes sense still. But it would make more sense to have atmospheric vehicles that are designed better for atmospheric combat necessarily than like space. Or I just the mind blows. Like I just think, like, why would the aliens, who are only like X number of years older than us, if we've beaten them, have better turning ships than we have? That makes no sense. We would go, what are they doing that's really cool that makes their ship turn so well and be so great in combat? We need to copy that, because that's what you do. Even if you look at any basic between America and Russia and France, if you look at any aviation, there is constant conflict and competition there to try and beat each other. So the same thing would have happened in that 1,000 years of lore. We would have ships that do the same movements or are very close to it. We would definitely be close to it. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And it just goes, that's where I find it worrying and concerning, and all this shit that's going on in my head right now. Because the last time I was this scared about this was when 3.0 came out from the and Miz knows what happened after 3.0 in terms of the flight model and item 2.0 breaking it so hard. So I'm very worried. And I think that's why it got delayed, by the way, the flight model, because the flight model was supposed to be here before. And I think after the feedback and everything else, I think that they probably realized that it doesn't feel great. So that's why it's delayed to 3.5. And we'll see if it makes 3.5. It says it's 30 something of 32 or something.
It's about 3/4 of the way through. It's about 122 out of 140 odd.
I would say to CIG, you need to get all of the best pilots who play the game, who have played the game, send out information to them, create an Evocati separate build, and get them all to fly it first before you put it into live. Or any
I reckon Miz should be the flight tester.
There isn't an element to that though. Like, how many of these excellent ace pilots are there compared to the average Joe? And then really it's going to be, their aim is going to make it fun for the average person, not for the elite.
No, something that I
suppose.
Something I was corrected on is when you balance something, you start from the top and work down. So the best is where you start, and then you work it down so that it filters into everyone else. And I can't remember. I think it was on the captain's table. We were talking about it, and I was like, "No, I think the average person should, the majority players should have the say in it." And they say, "No, I can't remember what it is. If someone can remember anything about this, or if they just know the answer, but it is to do with the higher skill category. Otherwise, the top player is just going to be like, this is a piece of piss. I can annihilate everyone. They need to have a challenge, and that's why I think the safeties are part of it. If you turn off all the safeties because you're a great pilot, you can get the most out of your ship. it's a challenge for you, but you can really outmaneuver anybody, even the top pilots. And that, again, it's a skill-based game. It's not an MMO. It's not like you level. Sorry, it's not an RPG. Then the average pilot like myself will have most safeties on and maybe think, oh, I did well there against the average pilot. But as soon as I know that I'm up against someone who's a top pilot, I'll be like, no, fuck this.
Yeah, most people will not engage into a dogfight if they are not dogfighters themselves, and everybody can fly a ship straight. They can land a ship, except for Miserable and me. But sorry, Miserable. But no. So yeah, they should customize it on a high level for all the real dogfighters out there, and make it somewhat flyable for the rest of our plebs. And that will be fairly easy, I guess. It's the hardest thing is to keep people like Madness and the other guys who are really deep into dogfighting.
And they're the guys to ask.
Yeah,
they're the guys to test it. Like you said, it would be good to have a separate thing for the dogfighters, the top fighters, to test the system out, because they're the ones that have trained with it the most.
Yeah, they do.
I would happily do it. I would happily sign an NDA just for the flight model. I would happily do, and I would love to. I'd love for them to take. I mean, there's a whole lot. I'm sure I know they're in contact with a lot of the orgs who are combat anyway. I know the Rogue Squadron they spoke to previously for the previous flight model, back in the day for the previous ones. So I'm sure they're already kind of aware of it. But I'd love for them to do more of it, and I hope they are doing it. If they didn't do it, but my biggest thing is. Here's my thing, okay? If they turn the flight model into this kind of one-dimensional jousty type of flight mechanic, you just have Elite Dangerous. And this goes against everything that Chris Roberts talks about, because he always says this before. He says, if you're going to do something that is the same, why bother doing it? Okay? And one of the things, and this is the thing, the flight model at the moment with the 6 degrees of movement and the way that it feels is, like I said before, truly unique. And it flies like nothing else, and it gives me an experience that I, as a dogfighter, and many other dogfighters had, when it works well, and it's worked well previously, I'm quoting, is tremendous. Okay? Tremendous. So if they fuck that up and gives me Elite Dangerous, that goes against everything that Chris Roberts originally talks about. And if he talks about World War I dogfighting, then I've just given you the example of Star Wars. That is shit as well to a degree. That's not how it kind of works for PV 1v1s. It will work obviously in group of scale, a bit more like that. But most people dogfighting still use. It's going to be probably 30%, 40% of combat will still be 1v1 scenarios. Anyway, that's my soapbox moment.
Let's wait till March.
But that's a biggie. It's coming really soon.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
The soap's melted.
And I hope people got hung in there with me, and I'm sure people disagree with me. That's fine, not a problem. That's the whole beauty of this discussion. We will get to fly it, but I love I love to talk about it before the fact to kind of see what happens, and then see. Like I said, I'm always happy to hold my hand up and be. I was wrong. They've smashed it, knocked it out the park. It's the best. It's gone back to what it used to be in 2.6. I think it's a smoother transition. We can now use our Panthers and repeaters and hit a target. So.
Oh god, we mentioned it was going to come at some point. 2.6. It's going to come.
I think the fact is,
it's agreed on. That's one of the best flight models.
When it comes to things like flight and things that you really need to just feel, because like you say, you don't fly based on such knowledge. It's instinct. A lot of the time, and that comes through the feel of it. So until we've really felt it, played it, had a go with it, and got an idea of how it actually feels as a player, that's when we can start getting worried. Don't get worried. I'm not worried about anything in Star Citizen, because I know finally they will tweak it and get it so that it's as accurate as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Be afraid. Chris will balance everything.
Madness, would you be satisfied when ESP was working?
Yeah, that was someone asked me. I think it was Snakey who's in chat here. He asked me this morning because I did a kind of tester on his stream. He asked me this morning about what the things I would change if I was to do it, and I did say, like, for me, I think one of the big things right now is the ESP doesn't work particularly. If they could find a way to fix that, now they've been trying for a year and they haven't been able to do it, so there must be something fundamentally wrong with it for them, or it's not possible to do it, or something. That might be one of the reasons why they've had to change the flight model, which is fine if you have to, but they've been been talking about all this. The ships don't feel different. They do. We need to make more random.
Right.
Like, you already have fucking got that, dude. And we want to make them different. Then why the fuck are you making everything fly the same? Just kind of worries me. You know, it's a big worry to me.
Yeah.
And if it's not to anyone else, then you're not looking hard enough, because you should be a little bit concerned.
That's offended like half.
Oh, but you should be but the people who are not interested in dogfighting, that's fine. Don't, no big deal. Like, there's a lot of people in chat who said they're not interested. They're just happy. They just want, that's fine. The ships will fly for you. You'll have a great experience, and the game will be great.
Yeah.
That's cool. Absolutely fine. There's no issues. The new flight model will work fine for that. But if you want that skill, excitement that we've had, if they strip that away and give us the Elite Dangerous, then you're going to be having like fucking No Man's Sky type of combat, which sucks balls.
I mean, the thing is, they keep like readdressing the flight mechanics, and a lot of people moan that they're doing that. I mean, I know you like 2.6, but I don't think you would say 2.6 was perfect. And I think it's such a vital, especially for the single player Squadron 42. It is such a vital. It's probably the main part of the game, really, and so it does need. I agree. It does need lots of reviewing, and it does need lots of input from like pilots that know what the fuck they're doing. Like, there is literally no point in them asking me whether this flight mechanic is any good or not, because it's a complete waste of time. So they do need to ask people that know what they're doing, and so I think we're going to see. Obviously, this is another iteration that we don't want to keep seeing them going right back to the drawing board with it. But I'm hoping through the different types of tests that they're doing, through the different exploration ways of how to handle the flight mechanics, that we'll get something eventually. And I mean, it will depend a little bit on how reasonable they are listening to feedback and stuff. I mean, the whole point of Sitcom was that they said, we want your feedback from trying it there. So hopefully, they are willing to listen to people and get feedback and then improve it from there.
I think they need to, Miz. I think if they don't do feedback, if they don't listen, honestly, I do genuinely feel this, if they don't get the feedback and listen to the feedback from the people who are the combat pilots, they don't, not necessarily, if they don't listen to them and don't let them try it out early and get a hold of it, the flight model, before every other person, and let them get on it and let them try it out for a good couple of weeks beforehand and dial it in, I think they are going to shoot themselves in the foot hard. So I really do.
With an Omnisky.
Yeah, with a fucking Omnisky. With Omniskys, 12 of them. With a railgun. They're literally shooting themselves in the foot. No, I know what it can be like. It can be like, I'm a designer, okay? Like, and I create things, and it's like my precious little baby, It's like, this is my baby, and I've spent months working on this, and no one's allowed to criticize it, and no one's allowed to say anything bad about it. But the truth is, if you want this baby to be the best baby it is, gotta hand that sucker out there and get the feedback back.
Need to share it.
Your baby in the corner's like,
yeah, get here, baby. Let's go. You've got to hand it out. Get it to nursery. Let it. Otherwise, it becomes shy and it doesn't want to be held by anybody else. You just got to get it out there. Here, let them hold it as many times. Let every different person hold it. No,
so when you go to pick up your kid from nursery, all the other mothers go around and say, "Look, we got something to tell you, mate. Your kid. We just got some feedback for you.
Some concerns."
What the fuck are you talking about? My baby's perfect. How dare you talk about my child in that
His
way?
nose is slightly wonky. When he pisses, it pisses to the left and gets it all over his left shoe.
Who does it?
My baby.
Are you a left pisser or a right pisser? Everyone's kind of hanging to the left, hanging to the right. No, like, honestly, I just I don't want to go on about it. This is why I'm doing it now, because I got to get it out on the podcast. And then if people want to come in when I'm streaming and talk to me about the flight model, please feel free. If you disagreed with anything I've said, love you to come in and talk if you agree with what I say as well. Love to know your thoughts if you found it interesting, because I want to do more of this. Like when the flight model comes in, I'm going to be doing something. I'm going to be sat down with Jolly, with Jester, with probably some of the guys from AOTW and a few other combat pilots. And we're going to do a little bit of, I think we'll do a thing where we'll talk about it more in depth and put it on YouTube, on the Asylum YouTube channel, and really try and break it down. No, I mean, we'll do. I mean, it'll be elite. It's gonna be elite. I'm sorry, dudes. It's gonna be elite. Sorry.
He almost he couldn't bring himself to say it.
No,
He was like,
I can't.
No. I mean, if you want to, no, it's not. It's gonna be elite.
No, it's elite. It's got to be. It's got to be. And what we can do is we can do the other talk after when the flight model comes out.
Yeah, the other talk, the noob talk.
The noob chat.
But then we all talk, and Madness is like, for fuck's sake,
cancel the podcast.
Yeah. Well, if I start talking about J-turns, do you know what J-turns are? In the
Oh yeah, of course I do. Yeah,
do you know how to do a J-turn?
You
know how to do a J-turn?
Just when you turn and then hook it back.
How do I do this? Describe this.
The J hook.
J hook. Right. Here's
Is it like a fish hook?
There's your target in front of you. There's your other target. Okay. So what you want to do is, as you're kind of like looking at each other, you want to strafe down with this ship. So you drag the opponent ship down, and then as he comes down, you then change your movement, and then you kind of roll over the top, so you see the body of the ship. So you want, because you want to see as much of the cockpit and the big ship. Because when you're flying, when you do combat fire,
you want a cross section.
You want to try and see as much of the. It's called diagonal combat basically. But with a J hook, you basically force the person down, and then you strafe back up again and roll on top of them. This is cool. I mean, it's a bit more difficult to do with mouse and keyboard, but you can probably kind of do a half a J turn. But it's interesting how in the current flight model, you can do much bigger J turns because it's easier to hit, whereas in the older flight model, the J turns were much shorter and smaller. It's really weird. It's actually quite interesting.
Does J stand for Jimmy, that one on top of the mic?
Jehovah.
Frank turn and a J turn.
Maybe. Right, anyways, I
off.
Move on. I've done my
Jimmy
bit.
the
I'm
Turn.
done.
It's a gangster name. I'm Jimmy the Turn.
Questions?
Yeah,
if anyone's got any questions, I'm trying. I'm doing the Chris Roberts kind of like, hey, do it like this, do it like this.
The Jedi guy.
No, the J stands for Jumbo. Jumbo CB.
We've got. We have a question. Actually, Twitch asked me this, which is a really good question. He says, why do we black out in spaceships when we have a gravitational system on board our spaceships? Why do we black out?
That's why.
You do that in gravity, you would black out.
If you took
because you have the gravity.
So if you took that off the spaceships, then why do we black out then? Like, if, for example, a Sabre, does it have a gravitation?
We can't turn gravity off, can we?
You can, but they I think part of it, I don't know for certain, but they did say that they're trying to create like an atmosphere inside your ship as such, don't they? Like an artificial atmosphere to sort of, I don't know, maybe to tell you when you're pulling extremes. It's a good question because
I don't know the math, but I don't know the neutronics.
Maybe it will change when it's in. I think it's to do with the ship systems itself, trying to recreate that experience. But I think it does apply more to atmosphere than space. But I don't know.
So centrifugal. If you don't have centrifugic force, so if you're in a 0G environment, do you still feel centrifugal? Like, do you still feel that?
There's a force pushing and pulling.
We all know what the force is.
So you would in theory, if you suddenly changed, like in the Expanse, for example, it got me thinking, and I've said this before, is I really think that they should have a juicing system in spaceships, so you can take bigger Gs, so you don't black out.
So you can have smoothies.
But you can't do it for too long, otherwise you take health damage. So you need to know, it'll be potentially another key button or whatever, but you're going into a heavy turn or you're going to do a dogfight for a certain period of time, and you hit the juice and your character kind of like gets like a hyper whatever kind of moment, and he won't black out per se on higher Gs. Maybe the max, you will still potentially, you could have to hit it again if you're getting up into super high, like in the Expanse, super high Gs, and then you really stand the risk of having a seizure and your character's health, kind of like you see the bar in the corner of your health and you could take it to the limit on your health. That would be super cool.
Take it to the limit.
Take it to the limit. Yeah, exactly. I'd love that as an extra thing, but.
Max intelligent input from the science.
That's it. That's my science gone.
So if you're flying 1,000 meters and change direction, your body fluids still have to catch up. So in G-force, like in the 0Gs, it's the same. I don't know. I don't fly
because your
around
body's still in motion, isn't it? You're doesn't matter whether you're in 0G or not. The same as your ship. Okay. It's in motion. In space, your ship's going one way. You have to turn it and go the other way. Your ship still wants to go the other direction.
Okay.
So I presume it's the same.
So with a gravitational system in place, how would that affect? Is it exactly the same, or does that change does it make it the gravity, the effects more severe or less severe?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think gravity might make it more severe because you're pulling in a different direction as well. So say you're going backwards on yourself, you're also getting pulls downwards.
Okay,
as
that makes
well.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. But then so when you flip up,
bollocks.
no, it kind of makes sense. No, it makes sense in my head. I'm like, okay, so you flip. So say you're in a combat situation, your ship's upside down, and because what's ways upside down, right? It's upside down is perpendicular to your ship.
But is it upside down?
Yeah, exactly. It's not. Is it really? It's whatever your ship
gravity,
is.
Not. So it's just the actual motion. But if you have gravity, then yes, you'll have that forcing on you as well.
So yeah. So.
But if a tree falls on yellow, does it cause an earthquake?
But wouldn't that mean you would never? Fuck you. You'd never.
Well, I think you don't feel it when you're actually rotating, or not feeling it that much, but only with jaw, pitch, and strafe.
Be 3 pulses. Yeah.
I think the effects will be more severe than them actually rolling.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I don't know. I need a scientist. I need a scientist to kind of chat to about it, but
because you stay in one place with rolling.
Tune in next week for the Asylum Science chat. We get some experts rather than.
I'm gonna get that Neil deGrasse. I'm gonna have a chat with him and just be like, right, let's come in, let's have a chat, get him on. I'll ask him to come on the show. Neil, we've got a really big numbers on this show. Can you, we'll get big exposure on the show.
He would be classed as a special guest, wouldn't he?
He would, Mac. I'm sorry.
This is what you get when you get like a university lecturer trying to teach like 4-year-olds.
With a bunch of
oh yeah, so if you go a different direction.
Distraction just gone there.
The combined brain power. I could imagine
Together,
it would be hilarious. Well, he'd be like, "What's gravity? Well, remind me again what the math on gravity is." Okay, I think we've expended all direction on that one, but that was interesting.
Korak's on. He knows what he's talking about.
Here's a question. Okay, so this is we'll run this down very quickly. So this person says you can't carry more than you can equip visually. Will this introduce a ferrying aspect of the game, which, given the already long travel times, become more of a chore than entertainment? We already know, obviously, with the travel times being the way they are, goes without saying that this hinders your get in quick play type. So,
well, that's intentional, isn't it? To stop people going off and just playing like they were playing COD. It's the idea that if you're thinking about your actions, so that you if you know that it's going to take you a long while. Like in my head, when I jump to Hurston, my first intention is save, make that a spawn point, and that's the main goal. I'm going all over the place with this.
Or just not making it a spawn point.
He's still thinking about gravity. His brain's
just my brain is going like, it's like literally melting out of my ear right now.
I like the idea choices. Sorry, Mac, go.
No, it's supposed to be. No, fuck it. Take it away.
I think what he's trying to say is it's meant to be a long. It's meant to be a long game. It's not actually meant to be a game that you jump in and do a quick 10 minutes.
I'm saying you're supposed to think about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And consequences.
Actions
have consequences.
Yeah, like they said, if you're going to go to an ice planet, right, you need to go and find your armor that's got thermal insulating, so you can go and stand on the ice planet. Or if you're going to go, that sort of thing. So it is all going to be a lot slower and a lot more thought process rather than just jump in. I suppose maybe there'll be certain tasks that you can do as a jump in task, but if you want to do other things, it's going to be a bigger gaming session. Which, whether you like it or not, that's probably going to be the case.
I think it also plays to because not everyone wants to do the transportation of goods like this. I assume were they talking about physical inventories and the fact that you can only carry what you can fit on yourself. And so, if you want something taken to a location, you don't have to be the guy that takes it there. You can hire someone to do it. You can ask an org member, and there'll be people who actually like that kind of gameplay who will be happy to do it for a fee. But yeah, that's it builds into the whole economy, the logistics of the verse. You can't just say, right, I want this weapon now. Let me just equip it to my ship. You have to go and physically get it from wherever it was and then equip it. So
technically, what it's going to turn into is it's going to make you want to have a ship with the biggest fucking walk-in wardrobe you've ever seen. Because I get what they're saying. Like if I'm got a range of outfits and they're at Port Olisar, for example, and I do a transport mission and I'm in Levski, And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I need to go to Hurston, and that needs to have a certain suit for that. I've got to go all the way back to Port Olisar. And then what do? Do I pay someone to ship my suit out to Levski? Or, it really does break up your gameplay quite massively. So then it's a case of, well, do I have a fucking special suit in every single stop that I go to, or does it stay in my ship? I have to admit, there is an element of concern. I mean, obviously I play a lot of MMOs, so from an MMO point of view, you do keep a lot of stuff with you, or you don't have lots of changes of armor. So this is going to be a thing that you're going to have to get used to. And
or you have a shared bank.
The way I look at that, Miz, because I think you hit the nail on the head for me, which again is, I think is this detachment of what is a game and what is real. It's like in movies, for example, they don't show the main characters going for a piss every time they need to go for a piss, like in real life.
Yeah.
You just assume that type of thing
or reloading the magazines.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same thing in the game. In the gaming world, like, I play Red Dead Redemption. I carry all my guns with me, but like but that doesn't, like, I'm not, I don't. But when I get off the horse, for example, I've only got a certain number of limited slots on my body, so I can only carry a certain number. But the horse is kind of like the spaceship in a way, is carrying a load of stuff. But I can carry, but I can carry loads of medipacks and loads of other different bits on me, which kind of beats it. But it doesn't slow the game. The game has still got a pacing to it. It's still not super fast. I think if they made it so that game you had to do what Star Citizen in theory is talking about, it could become incredibly painful and incredibly slow and make combat very, very frustrating. And other parts of the game very frustrating. And I think there needs to be this just idea of like, that is kind of assumed, like in movies, like, you're going to take your gear, the correct gear to the thing. So if you should be allowed to have it all on your spaceship or something, or like they should be able to carry it on you, or like you would do that anyway.
You should be able to carry everything.
No.
But something, a certain locker or something that's going to be near you should have everything in it. So whether it's your locker in your hab that you've got on the location, or like you said, your locker in your ship, you don't have to put your specific spacesuit in there. I would prefer it if all your spacesuits were available when you opened up the locker.
Yeah.
I agree with not carrying everything, because then that makes you think more.
Before.
They did say something, and I can't remember what they said.
Yeah, the global lockers is like you say. I think the idea is that you'll.
Global locker?
But
I can't remember if they confirmed it, but they did mention it. Yeah.
Will that be system or global? Like when they say global, I'd be fascinated to know. Is that going to be like, say you're in the same system, like we are, and say like we're in Hurston, and you're in the Crusader or whatever, you could get access to that. But when you go into another universe, you have to have a different global inventory. Do you know what I mean?
Because you're. Again, they get to the same problem. Especially if journey takes half an hour to get to a whole different, galaxy subsystem, and then you're like, oh shit, I left my desert fucking spacesuit back at the other one. Yeah. Imagine if you're doing a group raid and it's just taking you half an hour to meet up with all your mates, and then you go, oh, bad news, guys.
I'll be back in an hour.
I'll be back in an hour because it's going to be another half hour back. Grab my suit, another half hour back again. But it's not going to be good.
Yeah. So it's like, again, it's that balance in it between realism, fun. If it gets annoying as hell, then they need to find a way around it. And I really like that about Red Dead, is when you jump off your horse, you think, right, like you're doing a bounty mission. It's inside a cave. You think, I ain't going to take a sniper rifle, so I'll put that back, but I'll take out my shotgun, and then you'll go in and you'll leave your horse there. So it's the same with your ship. You think, right, okay, I've got this weapon, this suit. We land, okay. It would be, I think the global inventory maybe you can apply it to a particular ship or a room or whatever that you're staying at. It might not be affected by all of the places. Maybe you have to allocate it. It's something that we don't know yet, but that is important. But also, if you do go off on foot, you're not just going to be able to have this big scroll wheel where you can get every single weapon that you own and select it as you go. Plus, if you drop the weapon, then you will lose it. I don't think it'll be like LTI spawn back in your global inventory sort of thing. So, it is. I like it because it does make you think about your mission.
Awesome.
Job.
Right.
Sorry, guys. I had a little nature call.
That's fine. Actually, we're going to end it there because I think we've gone over about 10 minutes what we said we were going to do. Actually, over half an hour, actually. We started late because of problems. I'm going to host a new person. Anyone that's put questions in, we'll get to the questions next week. So if you put questions in, we'll do that. We have a few more questions on the list that I have, which we will address next week on the next week's show, which is good because ATVs are kind of small in content at the moment, so it gives us stuff to talk about. I'd like to thank followers and subs and everyone else that's done stuff. Thank you so much. All that stuff goes back into the pot for the Asylum and what we want to do this year. Your support is really helpful. If you have checked out our YouTube channel, please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to catch up on any of the previous ones. The Christmas special one was up there, which was a really good one to watch. Plus the Halloween specials, and they're all we got some good content.
They're all special.
They're all special.
Just like our guests.
Just like our guests. We love you all. You're all wonderful. Come on. Could you link those vids from earlier, J2R4? Which videos do you want? What, the flight model ones? Just whisper me what you're talking about, and I'll whisper me. You can see my name. Whisper it.
Please, madness.
No problem. I can sort you out. I'm gonna go host this guy. He says here he's day one and he's learning the ropes. So we'll go. He's called Gnarly Nar. So he's is he English first? Please tell me he's English.
Should say under the string title now.
English. Yes.
English,
yeah, he's English. So we'll go give this dude a raid. Thank you so much, guys. Do we have a raid?
Oh, great cat doggy.
ASMR time.
Wow. Okay, cool stuff. And yeah, so give everyone here. Give Bok a follow. Give Miserable G a follow. Give SuperMacBrothers a follow. Go check out Mac's YouTube channel as well. Love you all. Great to be back. I can't wait for the rest of the year. Check out the Daymar race as well when it comes out. We'll be advertising that over the next 2 weeks as well. Come and watch. Come and enjoy. And yeah, let's go give this dude a raid. No, that's the wrong one.
Gnarly God.
It's been hang on, how do I do this?
/raid and then just the name.
/raid. Oh yeah. Not the whole fucking channel.
Derp! It's been a while.
It's been a while. I'm rusty, okay? Jay, turn that baby. Awesome stuff, guys. Let's wait for it. Good stuff.
I'm guessing this guy's American with his big American
Do we have any bombs?
flag.
Do we have any bombs or anything we can go throw in the raid? Do we have any?
I don't think we should be doing things like that.
What bombs?
American bombs we can throw at them.
I don't know. Anyway, guys, take care. All the best. See you guys later.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
Later, guys.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Sorry,
He's got a very familiar voice, as this guy.
Let's see if I can hear him.
Hey, thank you so much for the raid. Are you kidding me? Little bit of madness? Thank you so much.